Warning. The following business training series is not for everyone.
I grew my email list to 5,400 in less than 5 months.
I built up my subscriber list by another 5,000 subscribers.
Why are some entrepreneurs able to rapidly grow without hustling 12 hours a day, while most work even longer, do the same things, and continue to see little to no results?
It came out of nowhere to me. It was like, yeah, I had this goal for like 60,000 and we ended up blowing that out of the water and hit 80K. And it was really it was just like all the things came into alignment.
I was able to bring in this year over $330,000 from a brand new business.
Why do some go on to create massive audiences that hang on their every word, while most can't even get people to pay attention?
Our last launch, we did 453 new members, and we're doing about $30,000 a month in recurring monthly revenue.
You're about to discover the real reason why.
As you're about to see, this series is going to turn everything you think you know about business growth completely on its head. So, if you already think you know it all and you're unopen to new ideas, this training is not for you. And if you're the type of entrepreneur that hops from training to training but doesn't ever take action, well, you're in the wrong place. So, if you're actually serious about growing your business, you have to make a choice right now. You can either keep doing what you've been doing, working way too hard with way too little to show for it, or you can watch this entire series right now and finally discover the invisible mechanisms that seven-figure entrepreneurs are tapping into. So, if you're the type of person that's willing to look at themselves and their businesses objectively, and if you're finally ready to step into the CEO role that your business needs, let's continue. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, founder of the Rapid Growth System for Successful Digital CEOs, Business by Design, and host of the Mind Your Business podcast. And I'm known as the go-to guy who turns course creators like you into seven-figure digital CEOs by giving them the right systems and processes that lead to scalability in their businesses and freedom in their lives. So, if you have a message, expertise, or knowledge that you just know will help others, or perhaps you're a coach, author, or speaker that's ready to have a thriving online business around your sold-out courses and programs, well, you're about to get the tools and strategies that will do exactly that. By the time you finish this entire series, well, you'll have the completed blueprint for a business that creates massive impact in the marketplace and gives you the time to do more of what you love. And I don't need to tell you that there already are successful entrepreneurs that are absolutely crushing it with their sold-out courses and coaching programs. And they're doing this in every niche imaginable. Entrepreneurs like Jasmine Starr, award-winning photographer who packaged her expertise and turned it into a $238,000 launch with a $197 course. And Jacqueline Kinser, a lactation consultant who launched her online course for the first time with no list and sold it out in 1 week, grossing $7,500. And Jason Brown, a stock market coach who built a $500,000 a year business while still working his full-time corporate job. And niches like pet photography, art lessons, fashion, health, fitness, parenting, spirituality, and more. Yet despite how much content already exists online claiming to teach you how you too can do this, and chances are you're no stranger to this content, the vast majority of entrepreneurs continue to struggle, get it wrong, and never figure it out. So if all the same content is available to everyone, then why does all this success seem to be reserved for the few? So, is it really the right funnel or the latest strategy that's going to automatically fix your business? As if all the gurus out there have locked the real secret away in a vault? I mean, you've clearly seen others use the exact same strategies. Strategies like, a webinar or a challenge, and they've been wildly successful. So look, continuing to blame the strategy and then wasting your time hopping from one to the next, well, that's like blaming Google Maps when your car breaks down. And I don't need to tell you, there are multiple routes to the same destination. And if the map has worked for others, we both know it's not the map. So what is it? Well, the next logical conclusion would be to assume that you have a reach problem. If you're like most, you might be thinking, James, if I could just get in front of more people, then that would solve all my business problems. As if more followers automatically means more sales. Well, if I gave you a bucket, what good would it be to fill it with more water if you don't fix the giant hole in the bottom? Today, there are countless influencers and personal brands with millions of followers that chose to focus on vanity numbers instead of revenue. And as a result, they're flat broke. While digital CEOs everywhere are quietly crushing it with a fraction of that audience size. And you may be thinking, it's easy for these people, but you don't have the time or the money. Well, if you're constantly focusing on the wrong things, you'll never have the time or the money to focus on the right things, the things that actually grow your business. And no matter how little time or money you think you have right now, the fact is, there is someone out there with less time, less money, less resources, heck, even less support, and they made their dreams possible. Take Fernanda Lind Echeniche, a mom of 3 with a full-time corporate job and no prior business experience. She went from 0 to 6 figures in her first 12 months. The truth is, most struggling entrepreneurs are simply looking for the answers to their business woes in all the wrong places. And if you haven't hit the level of success you want in your business, well, you may be making some of the mistakes that they are. Heck, I know I was. This is exactly how I used to approach my business. And that's exactly why I struggled for 4 straight years, living off caffeine and Subway sandwiches in my parents' basement. Broke as a joke. I stayed stuck for 4 years because I was not willing to be the person who took the actions I needed to take in order to have the results that I wanted. Because when I finally made that shift, a shift that you too can make in an instant, everything changed. I grew $1 million a year online business, selling $97 courses, teaching my passion, online video. And despite how competitive and oversaturated everyone told me the marketplace already was, that I was virtually unknown, didn't have a best-selling book, 20 years experience, and one of those fancy schmancy certifications, I still made my business dreams a reality. And that gave me the life I'd always dreamed of. But that was 4 years ago. Today, I just do for others what I was able to do for myself. And by the end of this binge-worthy series, you're gonna learn just that. I'll introduce you to the exact systems and processes I followed to build 3 multi-million-dollar businesses and the 5 core ingredients that I bake into every business that allows it to scale without requiring you, the founder, to hustle day in and day out. You want to know why 7-figure digital CEOs become 7-figure digital CEOs? It's because they make the decisions, take the actions, and do the things that 7-figure entrepreneurs do, even way before they're making 7 figures. And the people that don't grow their business are still taking actions and making decisions that failing entrepreneurs make. It's as simple as that. I mean, how are you ever expected to become successful when you don't take the actions that successful people take? And I get it. You may be sitting there going, James, I'm still trying to make my first sale online. Or, I just hit 6 figures last year. Well, do you think you'll hit your goals faster when you align with the actions of a 6-figure entrepreneur or a 7-figure entrepreneur?
Hey, what can I get for you?
Let's get a tall Americano.
Sweet, coming right up.
Think about this. How much would your life change right now if every thought, action, and decision shifted to match those of the successful people you currently look up to?
That'll be $3.95.
There you go. Probably a ton, am I right? In other words, you can continue to struggle and hustle your way toward the attainment of your goals, or you can choose the easier way. You can focus on becoming the person for whom accomplishing your goals is inevitable. In fact, in the very next episode, you'll get to identify which of the 5 roles you've been filling in your business, which is absolutely vital because it's the role you fill that ultimately determines the results you receive. I mean, how are you ever expected to grow your business if you spend the majority of your day with your head down, hustling away at those $10 an hour tasks? Sorry, but creating graphics, designing PDFs, and learning WordPress is never going to grow your business. And if you're spending all day below deck, well then who's driving the ship? Who's focusing on the revenue generating activities? So if you haven't been happy with the results you've been getting, chances are you've been avoiding the role that your business needs you to fill. So the real question is, how much longer will you avoid it? And where do you think your business will be this time next year if you don't do something about it right now? If you're noticing that little voice in your head say things like,
I'm just not ready for this training yet.
well, let me ask you, is that how the successful entrepreneur thinks? Or are those the old, outdated beliefs that a struggling entrepreneur has? It's not a matter of how experienced or knowledgeable you are right now. It's simply a matter of how committed you're willing to be. Because you may not know this yet, but you might be missing just one thing. You might be just this close and not even realize it. You don't have to experience those years of struggle that so many others, like myself, live through just to be successful. Shifts can happen in an instant if you're open to it. So listen to every single episode extremely closely. All it takes is one idea to radically change everything. And although this series won't be up for long, I encourage you to binge watch the whole season in one sitting and then re-listen again for all the information you didn't catch. Because that extra effort to learn something new, well, that's what millionaires do. We live in the greatest time in the history of the world. We have more opportunity for freedom and impact than ever before. And entrepreneurship has never been more possible than it is today. There has literally never been an easier time to start than this second right now. And if you don't start now, when will you? One Americano. Hold on, I need my line again. Okay, give me an action.
Okay, and action. Wait, let's wait for this way.
Then that would solve all my business problems. Last line!
Okay, so you're going to look up from your phone, and that's it. Now show it to me. And then I'm going to cut there. Hold it down, yeah, that's it. Now go. That's it. And now push it to me.
Shirley, do you think it matters that when I have the book in my hand, I'm on a different page each time?
No.
I think we should redo it, and I'm on the same. I'm just not ready for this training yet. Does that work? Okay. I just hit. I just hit 6 figures last. I just hit 6 figures last year. I that up again. I said or. So let's continue. That's the one, Ryan. Future Ryan, I want you to know I love you. I love you.
All right, welcome back. Welcome to module number 5. This is understanding your avatar. Lesson number 2, the concept. Now, strategically speaking, I have to make sure that you grasp the concept and understand the principles behind why this is so important. So we've got a lot of important things to go over, but the first thing I really want you to get clear on is that if you recall our 7 phases, this is phase 1. We are in it. We are in phase 1 of the 7 phases, and by the end of this module, you will have completed phase 1. How cool is that, right? So here's what you're going to need to do in this entire module. First, I want the answers, the responses to at least 25 surveyed individuals, past customers, potential customers. You name it. I'm going to show you how to do it, but you got to do the work. Second, you need to be able to clearly and confidently identify who the heck is my ideal customer. Then you need to be able to clearly and confidently identify what is their biggest problem, struggle, or frustration. And finally, you must be able to clearly identify and confidently identify, well, what is it that they really want in their lives? If you have all of this at the end of the module, now some of you are like, I already have this, James, and I say, great. You're going to love this. This will be easy for you. Some of you have no clue. Some of you are somewhere in the middle, and that's okay. But this entire module is designed to show you how to do that at any time. This is not something you do once and then never again because you're a newbie and now I'm not a newbie. No, this is a discipline that we master, and I'm going to show you how to do it efficiently and effectively. And one of the reasons why I need to show you this is because people are doing it hashtag backwards. And what I mean by this is most people, like me when I got started, start with an idea like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll create a bartending product, right? And they spend all their time creating videos and outlines and resources and recording and editing, and months go into this thing. They're like, oh my gosh, this takes so much effort, time, and energy. And they're like, oh, I'm done. Okay, what now? Oh, I know. I'll do the research to see who would want to buy this. And I can't stress enough that that is backwards. It's backwards for a lot of reasons. Number one, you may find that there is no audience for your product. And the easiest way to market online is to just find the existing audience and just give them what they want. When it's hard to find the audience, when it's hard to identify where they're at, your job becomes so much more challenging. So why are you doing that extra work? Just find where's the easiest audience to get a hold of and start there. And then the second thing is that, just to call you out a little bit, not you, of course, other members, is that you develop selective hearing. When you have the product, you want it to be a success, right? You're attached to it winning. So you start looking for the answers you want to hear, and you ignore the red flags and the signals that are telling you this might not work as well as you wanted it to. You develop selective hearing. So here's my advice. Hashtag be open. No matter where you're at in your business, whether this is your first offer or your 101st, I want to encourage you to go through this module as if you are a blank canvas. There is no past history of who you are, of how many products you have, of what you know or don't know about your audience. Can you approach this research and listening phase with 100% openness? Blank canvas. Erase it all and start fresh. And I want you to practice detaching yourself from the outcome. Like I said from the previous slide, a lot of us are looking for the answer that we want to hear, and we get bummed out when we don't hear that answer. Attaching yourself to the outcome means if you don't hear it, you're going to be upset. I want you to just receive and listen and be open to just hearing what people have to say, okay? Detach yourself from the outcome and be open to listening. That is the most effective way in which we can do this. Now, I also want to share with you some best practices. The first one is be specific. So there's a fantastic book that I highly, highly recommend called Made to Stick by the authors Chip and Dan Heath. And in the book, they talk about a study that was done in a mock trial courtroom where they used a bunch of jurors as the test dummies. And what they did is they tested, they basically had a trial of a woman to test to see, they were testifying to see if this woman was fit and just to continue being the mother of her young child. And so there was an argument for and an argument against this mother being the fit and just mother, or to be removed as the parent. And what they did, which the jurors did not know about, is they split tested, essentially, the argument for and the argument against, where in one example, the argument for, they used really, really concrete examples. And in one example, or in one, the other test, they used really, really concrete examples for the argument against. So when they would tell a story, they would talk about how, when my son brushes his teeth, he uses a Star Wars toothbrush in the shape of a Darth Vader helmet. and they would add irrelevant data that was really specific, but only on one side of the argument each time. And both times, it became the swaying vote. So whenever one side of the argument was specific, that was the side that won. And the conclusion was really simple here, was that when people become specific, the story becomes more believable. Everything becomes more believable when you can see it. So as we go through this process, I'm really going to invite you to be as specific as possible, like uncomfortably specific, because it just invites so much more believability and credibility. I mean, that was the entire conclusion of this study. So fascinating. That's the book, Made to Stick. Fantastic book. The next piece of advice or best practice I have is stop trying to be everything to everyone. I have a great story where back in my early days when I was schlepping my marketing skills to anybody who would hire me, this is like 2008, 2009, I was brought into a company, a startup company, into their board meeting. There's all these people in this room, and the CEO, the owner of the company, is ready to invite me now, introduce me to the rest of the team. And, you know, I was intimidated by them. They're like, who is this outside jerk who's going to try and take our job away from us? So I'm already shaking in my boots. And he's this outgoing, extroverted, gregarious gentleman, and he's so excited to introduce me. So he goes, this is James Wedmore. James, you are the, well, why don't you tell us what you are? And I just start touting off all the things I can do. Well, I said, well, I'm marketing specialist, so I can do copywriting and web design and traffic and paid advertising and, you know, copy and email copy and sales copy and blah, blah, blah. And I could see that as I was touting off this list of all the things that I'm an expert in, all the things that I was specialized in, that it was as if his brain was skipping a beat. It was as if the gears had skipped a tooth, and it wasn't connecting. I could see literally it was not connecting the dots. And this was such a gift of an opportunity for me, because I caught myself and I saved it and I said, but what I'm really known for, my real specialty, is YouTube and online video. And he goes, and you could just see it was like all the neurons fired at once. His eyes lit up, the light bulbs went off, and he goes, you're the YouTube guy. Guys, this is the YouTube guy. And that's when I had one of the greatest lessons of my life, that when you try to be everything to everyone, you are nothing to no one. You see, it's one of those hashtag backwards things, isn't it? Right? So many examples of that. That we're trying not to limit ourselves. We fear that if I become this, that other people say, no, I don't want that. I was looking for this. And that we're actually limiting ourselves. And that's so backwards. That people don't believe that you could possibly be the expert at more than one thing. So you have to be able to stake your claim as the expert in this one very specific thing to this one very specific type of person. And it's okay when people say, they're not for me. Because just as many people that say they're not for me, just as many people will say, oh my goodness, you were made for me. And the funny thing is that as I branded myself and went out to the marketplace in the world as the YouTube video guy, and the more I staked my claim and restaked my claim, the more I found people coming to me for other things. I know, James, you're the video guy, but how are you doing these webinars? And how are you building this business? And all these other things I want to know. And I was able to attract people and, you know, branch out into other things like I'm doing here because of that. And then the third thing is to identify their problem in their terms. A lot of us say, I know what their problem is, James. I know what their problem is, and I'm here to fix it. You're not the doctor. You have to be a great listener first. So it's about identifying the problem in their terms. So our goal is you must be able to understand and communicate their problem better than they can. So the great example I have of this is one of my employees came to me because his car broke down. And I just happen to know a lot about cars, and he happens to know absolutely nothing about cars. So he's like, could you please help me? And I said, yes. He said, the mechanic came to me and said, my car won't turn over. And I have no idea what that means. Is he talking about the car turning upside down? And I laughed, and I was like, no. It means, you know, the engine won't turn over, which means the engine isn't moving, which means the car won't start. And so what we do is we're kind of like the mechanic. We're the expert in this arena talking to someone who's not an expert, and we assume they know all the terminology and the problems. So we're sitting there going to our customers saying, are you struggling because your car won't turn over? And they're sitting there going, what the heck are you talking? I don't even know. No, my car doesn't run. So you must be able to look for the words, the phrases, and the level of sophistication that your audience is at. You know, one of the things that we learned is a lot of my newer audiences don't know what split tests are, how to run split tests, or squeeze pages, or some of these like fancy terminology that I've taken for granted because I've known them for like a decade. And I got to be really mindful not to use those words. Like, is your split test not performing well on your squeeze pages? A newbie's going to be like, what, a who? Okay, so what are the words they're saying? What is the problem in their terms? That's what we're looking for. And then number 4, this is very similar to that, is we're also looking for what their transformation is. What is the outcome they want? Then it can be your vehicle. So there's this great quote from Henry Ford that says, if I would have asked my customer what they want, they would have said a faster horse. That's true. You're right. But we're not necessarily asking your customer for how they would like their problem solved. We're asking them what's the pain and struggle, and then if they didn't have that pain and struggle, what would be available to them? So the pain for them, you know, Henry Ford's customer might be like, well, the maintenance of my horse is a pain in the butt. I can't go very far and I can't go very fast. Okay, so these are all the complaints. And if you just say, well, what do you want? They would have said a faster horse. Got it. But if you would have said, if you didn't have those problems, like if we could, you know, wipe that all away, what would life be like? Like, well, I could get to my destination quicker. I wouldn't waste as much time, money, or effort on maintaining my horse. And then we, as the marketer, have to be able to interpret how we solve that problem. The vehicle is irrelevant. It's the transformation that is. They don't care about if it was a car, a motorcycle, or a hovercraft. That's why transportation has changed over the years, right? We don't care about the vehicle. We care about the transformation. And the transformation is the result. And the result is that they're after is simply getting from point A to point B faster and more efficiently, period. If Henry Ford had come out with a hover car, you know, he skipped the whole evolution of a car and just went straight for a DeLorean that flew, people would love it. But they couldn't think that far. Only he could, okay? Does that make sense? Focus on their transformation, and then you can give them your vehicle. Okay, so the goal... Actually, let's go back. So let me give you one example of this, okay? So let's say I'm teaching people how to do webinars, okay? So you have a problem, which is I can't sell my program or my course. My sales aren't going very well. The transformation is that I want to be able to sell my course like crazy. I want more sales. I want more customers. Well, I could say my vehicle is webinars, and I could show you that webinars is the way to do it. That's my vehicle. You don't necessarily say, I want to learn webinars. You're just saying, I want to make more sales. Webinars is one way to do it. Just one way. Okay, and then I just have to convince you that this is the best way to do it. My vehicle is the best way. Does that make sense? The ultimate goal here, everyone, is that, you know, it's a really good sign when they're saying like, OMG, you're freaking reading my mind. You're a mind reader. Okay, we get this. We know we're on the right track. And this resonated with me so much. These are good signs. Or this was made for me. So you really want to take a look at when these things do happen. Okay, what is it that we did to make this happen, okay? So I'm going to end this video before we jump into the specifics with a powerful exercise. So I'm going to invite you to take out a piece of paper. You know, you could do it on an Evernote or Google Doc, but it's going to be 100 times more powerful for you if you just put this on a piece of paper. Now, the first thing you're going to do is draw a line down the center of your paper. Okay, doesn't have to be a straight line, perfect line, but the best that you can do with a pen or pencil. And on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, you're either going to write me or your name, something to let us know that that's you. Okay, and what I want you to do, and I want you to take at least 3 minutes to do this. 60 seconds at the least, but let's see if we can stretch it out to 3 minutes. And write down a list of everything that you want in your life. Start with the big things at the top. What are the things that are like really up there, really urgent, really, you know, a priority in your life that you want? Is it, talking about revenue in your business, how you want to feel in your business, what do you want to have accomplished in your business, what do you want your day to look like, what else do you want in your life, home, a car, a vacation, more time off, what do you want for your kids, your spouse, your fitness or health goals, more energy, what toys do you want in your life, what do you want? And then once you flush all those things out, like you're just going to like wring out the towel and get as much of that out there on paper so that it's really hard to come up with more. Then you want to think, okay, well, what about in a year from now or 2 years or 3 years? Put it all out there. Feelings, tangible, money, all the things that you really want. Be just open and honest with yourself and put it all down now. Okay, I'm going to pause this video, or you're going to pause this video and do that now. Don't come back until that is done. Okay, did you do that? I hope you did, because we're moving forward. On the right-hand side of this piece of paper, we're going to write them. And by them, I mean your customers, your audience, your subscribers, your following, your community, all of them. Now, I know we haven't done any research yet. That's all coming, okay? But who cares? Right now, I just want you to get out of your head and write down, what do they want? This is a powerful, powerful exercise. So take a moment and just say, well, what do they want? Be broad, specific, general. Who cares? Make it up. But get as much of it out there. How much money do they want? What do they want in their life? What are their relationship, their health, their fitness? Every area of their life, what do they want? Put it all down as much as you can. Really try and tap into who they are. If you have past customers or people that come to mind, what are the things that they've said that they want? What can you assume that they want? It's not about getting it right or wrong. It's just about understanding that they want things too. So what do they want? Write it down. Pause this video. I'm going to wait. Okay. Did you do that? I hope you did. If you did, you should have like a full piece of paper. Me and them. James and them. Okay? Now, here's what we're doing. For the longest time, especially since like social media was really a part of the internet. Yes, there was a time when there was no social media and there was an internet. I've noticed this dichotomy of these two camps of people. There's the people that are out there to get theirs. This is what I call, they live in the lack world, the scarcity world. They're out there to figure things out, to promote themselves, to get their thing done and made. There's a sense of desperation. There's a sense of me in it. And then there's another group. These are the people that radiate and exude abundance, love, and just thriving in every area. They're doing what they do, whether or not they get paid for it. And ironically, they're very successful. I don't find that a coincidence. These are the people that are giving generously, putting their work, their magic, their genius out there into the marketplace for everyone at the highest level of commitment and quality, with no attachment to whether or not that's going to make them the most money, et cetera, et cetera. So there are two people. There's this survival camp of, I got to get mine first. Let me just figure this out. Let me just make some sales or make some money first. There's a lot of desperation and self-promotion and kind of a spammy, scummy attitude. And then there's just like, here's me doing my thing and spreading awesomeness out into the world. And this is a line that we're going to draw in the sand where you have to choose. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's your life and it's your business. And I don't know you. I may not ever know you or meet you. But what I've seen is the people that come from this abundance, thriving mindset tend to continue to live in a world of thriving and abundance. So we're going to draw a line in the sand where you get to choose which one do you want to be. If you want to be in this abundance camp, here's all you got to do. You take a look at all the stuff you wrote down for them. All the things that they want. This is your audience. And you have to, in this moment, make a commitment to what they want. And that commitment has to come before all your stuff. You have to make them and all the things that they want a priority over you. You have to be more committed and willing to do what it takes to serve them, to give them what they need, before you get what you need. Now, that's a commitment of like the biggest kind possible, which is why I can't make anybody do anything. This is a choice. You don't have to do that. But here's the ironic part, the big magic part. It's that through that commitment to them, by putting them first, you will discover access to all the things that you've been wanting. But you won't be able to see that or believe it until you put them first. And that takes some trust. That takes faith, and that can be a little scary. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to do what I have done, then I invite you to make that choice now, to make this about serving others first. And then if you make that decision and make every action from that place in part of your commitment to them, I can promise you that that is where you will access what you truly want and desire. That's how I've built my life and my business. There is a quote I've had since I first started. It said, inspire others through my actions, meaning I want everything I do to be about inspiring someone to get the results or get the things that they want in their life. And when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking of a new podcast or a new YouTube video or even working on these videos right here, it's about what does my audience need right now? That's where I start. So I hope this helps. I hope this has been a powerful exercise. In the next video, we're going to jump right into listening, learning how to survey. I'm going to take you through several powerful survey strategies that you're going to love. So we're getting into action mode. I hope you're ready. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson. Take care. Okay, welcome back. This is Module 6, Crafting Your Offer. This is lesson number 2, identifying what an offer is. We're going to go over the offer ingredients so that you understand it conceptually. That's the goal of this video, is to get you to really understand what does it mean to have a great offer? What is an offer made up of? Once you get that, we can start to actually craft your offer together. So this is phase number 2 of the 7 phases of building your product and your business, right? So what are the essential ingredients to crafting an offer? Or what exactly is an offer? Well, it's what you're selling, basically. Okay? So I like to call it the 3 Ps of your offer: the promise, the price, and the process. Or the promise, the process, and the price. All 3 Ps. And what we're going to be doing is in this video, I'll go into detail onto each one of these, and then I'm going to take you through and break out into 3 separate lessons: how to craft your promise, how to craft your process, and how to craft your price. So we will take a deeper look at the promise first. This is essentially, who is your product for, what problem does it solve, and what solution is available. You take those 3 things, put them on a blender, crank it up to high, and that's your promise. The process is the boat from the previous video, right? It's how are you going to save them? Is it a membership site? Is it videos? Is there bonuses? Is it audio? Is there transcripts, downloads, audio, etc.? That's the way in which you solve or provide the promise. And then the third one is the price. So we'll take a look at all 3 of those and continue to go deeper with you. But what I want to do is really tell you why this is so important, why there's an entire module dedicated to this. First of all, it's because people will just say, oh, I got an idea. I'm going to create a course on YouTube, how to use YouTube. Or I'm going to create a course on Snapchat, how to use Snapchat. And it didn't work. Why not? Well, we're going to map out, just to show you how important the offer phase is, I'm going to tell you why a promotion fails. It's usually one of 3 things. Number 1, it's the offer. What I mean by that is that it's either a bad offer, which means no one wanted it, or it's a poorly communicated offer. You didn't really communicate the value of the offer. We're going to talk about that today too, don't you worry. Number 2, it's the execution of the promotion. In other words, you had a bad strategy. Well, you're in luck, because modules 7, 8, and 9, including our bonuses, are all designed to help you create the right strategy for launching with a great offer. So if you got a great offer and it still didn't work, it could be because you had a bad strategy for launching. And that's not going to happen if you listen to what I say in this course. The third thing is the numbers. Now, this is my favorite thing, because a lot of people come back and they go, I only made like $1,000. And then I go and look at their numbers, and I find out they only had like 20 people go through their promotion. It's all a numbers game. You increase your numbers, you're going to increase your sales. You increase your list, you're going to increase your sales. And so when you look at the numbers like earnings per lead, which you guys know by now is our holy grail metric, that if we have a higher earnings per lead, but it's still small numbers, that's a good thing, because now your job is just get more people in the funnel, get more people in the launch. So those are the three things, but here's the deal. It's 90% this. 90% of the times it's the offer, which means it's either you're selling something no one wants, or you're not doing as effective of a job communicating the value of it, really communicating what this offer is. So we're dedicating this entire module to that, because that's 90% of it, guys. That's 90% of it right there. So let's make sure we do that. So the offer is made up of three things: so the promise, the process, and the price. Let's take a little bit of a deeper look at the promise right now. This is the clear, concise, and concrete. Those are three important words. Is it clear? Is it concise? And is it concrete? Results or transformation that your product provides. Now, a lot of people get all hung up on this. They say, I can't promise that. And we're going to work through that together, because that might be some of you on this call. Say, I just can't promise that. And, there's another way to look at it, which is, well, if you had the ideal customer and student who followed your instructions to a T, what could be possible? What is available to them? And that's the way in which you look for it. So we break this out into three things, as I already showed you. This is who it's for. Is this for real estate agents? Is this for mommy bloggers? Is this for corporate execs? What problem does it solve? Because it always starts with the problem. And then what solution are you delivering that solves that problem? And what results are available from that solution? Okay, so it's who's it for, the negative, and then the positive. That's the simplest way I can look at it. Okay. Now, something to point out is that when we talk about problems, which will communicate through your offer and all your copy, is that there are two problems. There's an external problem and an internal problem. So this is worth noting, right? The external problem is what they see or experience, or what we would see and experience as a problem. And a problem is simply a description of something unwanted, right? Like 5 pounds of extra belly fat. Well, that's an external problem. I could see my 5 pounds of extra belly fat, and I'd be like, I don't want those extra 5 pounds, and I don't know what to do to get rid of them. Problem. So it's not just that there's 5 pounds of extra belly fat that is a problem. It's that the problem is I don't know how to get rid of them, or I've been trying and I can't. So that's the external problem is what you see, but then that then creates an internal problem, which is a feeling of stuck, frustrated, embarrassed, ready to give up. You see that? And the internal problem is how we feel and what we say about how we feel. That's what's going on inside. The more you begin to tap into that, the better. In fact, what I would like to say is that your offer should address an internal problem and deliver an external result. And you'll see that all the time, won't you? Going from embarrassed to take your shirt off at the beach to ripped six-pack abs. Notice how it's describing an internal struggle and negative emotion to an external solution. Now, I'm just using cliche, cheesy examples, but that's a great example to convey the internal struggle and an external transformation or result. That's what you're going to want to start looking at. Now, don't worry. I'm going to walk you through how to do this. But if you already have ideas, you can begin to pause this video and write them down at any time. Now, I'm going to give you some examples here. Again, it's the who, problem, solution. Who, negative, and positive. Now, this is one of our programs. Now, I've been selling my YouTube training. This is Video ROI. It was formerly Video Traffic Academy for like 6 years. No, wait. 5 years. There we go. Like 5 years. And it's done millions of dollars in sales for a $100 to $200 product. It teaches people how to use YouTube, is YouTube marketing, right? But that's not the promise. And I've seen so many people, and this is great. This is why I don't really care about competitors, or I don't look at people as competitors or anything. But I've seen people take my course and try and create their own YouTube how-to product. And then they fail and give up. And there's really two reasons why. I'm not going to reveal the other reason. I'll only reveal one right now. The other will have to come. But the first reason is they do not actually create a core promise. They're not really creating an offer that solves a problem or a big enough problem that deserves, getting, paying for it. They're solving a problem like how to use YouTube or how to make a video. And you got to realize that, when you find out who your ideal customer is, so mine is like online business owners or people who are trying to use the internet. I have all kinds of segments of avatars, but they're business owners that, that's the common thread with all of them. Well, business owners really only have like two problems, and it's leads and sales, right? So if I can't draw the connection to my offer that it's going to solve that problem and provide a solution like that, then no one's going to pay for it, plain and simple. So my promise is in the lines of get your videos ranked and found at the top of YouTube and Google so you can reach more people and attract more customers. And it varies depending on who I'm talking to, obviously, but that's kind of the general gist. And you see there's a tagline. It even says, attract more clients and customers with YouTube. Sometimes I'll throw in how it's autopilot. I'll change it to more like list building and becoming like, an authority. Like there's variations of it, but it's basically get found and reach more people, attract customers, okay, through YouTube. And then my job through my sales mechanism or my launch equation is to demonstrate why YouTube is the best way to solve that problem. And then if you go, oh, yeah, it really is a great way to do that, then you purchase the program. Okay? Let's give you another example. Now, I apologize. We're staying in the video space here, but it was the first example that popped into my brain. But don't worry, I have another example after this. This is Local Video Academy. Now, what Local Video Academy is a product that teaches people how to take their video services, like from Video ROI, and then offer it as a service. So we made a really simple promise. It's get paid to make videos for small business owners. And more specifically, it's get paid premium prices or get paid $2,000 to $4,000 per video, right? And so that's basically our promise for that, okay? Now, the next one is our inner circle. So even though this is a mastermind and there's only 12 customers that can buy this at a time, it still has a promise. And the promise is simple, is that the inner circle is going to show you how to create or have a breakthrough year in your business. And we actually go on to define what a breakthrough is and a breakthrough in growth. So we actually go on to say that breakthrough can mean like more than 2x your revenue, like 3 to 5x your revenue in 1 year. Okay, so even though that this is like it's not an online course, there's still a promise attached to it. Okay, so that's really important. That's your promise. Let's move on to the process, right? So you got the promise down. If not, go back, look over it again. We've got an entire lesson dedicated to nailing your promise, your process, and your price, so stay tuned for that. But you got to understand it conceptually first. The process is how we deliver on your promise. This is the content and the deliverables. Remember the boat. Are you going to show up in a jet ski, a yacht, a dinghy? How are you saving them? Okay? Not nearly as important as the promise. Okay, the training, right? What content is included? What am I going to learn? Okay? The medium, is this video or audio or PDF, resources, something else? The location, is it online, offline? Is it on their desktop? Is it on software? Is it on an online membership site? Do they have full access to that any day, any time? Is it live? Is it already pre-recorded? Bonuses, what other stuff do they get? Resources, coaching, and community. All of these things and more make up the process. But I can't emphasize this enough. It's 90% promise and 10% process. Yet how many people focus on these things first. They lead with this. We'll talk more about this in a second, but this is so secondary to the promise. So you want to spend 90% of your time just nailing that promise down. You can always add, change, or tweak the process. And you can also add, change, or tweak the price, can't you? The price is how much you're selling your product for. Now, something I want you to write down is that price is marketing. There's a great book, I've recommended it before, called Dan Ariely's Predictably Irrational. Phenomenal book, talks about things like price relativity and the psychology, the erratic behavior we have with our relationship with money and price. But one of the things that I've learned, seen, and experienced firsthand is the power price has to create the perception of value in our lives, which therefore leads me to conclude that price is marketing. In other words, if I was going to sell you something for $1, isn't there this natural inclination to want to believe that it couldn't be worth very much at all? And if I sold you something for 10 grand, you would even at the very least be intrigued to say, wow, what am I getting for 10 grand? What's included with that? It literally, the price can change the perception. But we come from it backwards. We try to create price from the standpoint of, well, how much will people pay for this? How much realistically do you think people will pay? And that is the biggest mistake that we could ever make in our marketing. You choose the price, and then you get so darn good at marketing that the marketing will create the demand and the desire for people to pay at whatever price you choose. That is the secret of creating money on demand, people. I hope you heard that. If not, rewind and hear that again. Take a listen to that again, all right? So this is going to include things such as price, value, payment plans, and guarantees. Let's put that all in a blender, put it on high, and that's this category of price. And we have an entire video dedicated at the end of this module to help you really create declare the price that you want to have for your product. My goal for you right now is to be in the top 10% of your market, the 10% of the highest prices, right? I want you to not be the Walmart of your industry, but to be in the luxury, premium, high-priced end of your industry. So that's the goal, okay? So we'll wrap up this lesson really quickly by going over some of the common offer mistakes that most people make. First of all, as I've already mentioned, we tend to focus on the process far more than the promise. If you want to make more money, solve bigger problems. And you need to focus on what the problem is that you are solving and the solution you are providing first and foremost before you focus on the process. We care far less about how we get our problem solved and far more about what promise we are given. This is the boat analogy from the first video. Someone is drowning and you want to save them, and then you go, wait a second. Do you want a yacht? Because my dinghy isn't finished yet, but my website is almost ready, and then I'll be ready to sell you. Okay? Focus on helping first. Now, the second thing, and this is huge, and I've got a great story to share with this, is that we make the mistake of having our price match the value. So we determine the value, and we determine the price, and we usually make them the same. And for some of you, you're like, yeah, what's the problem with that? So you want to sell a $200 product, so you create $200 worth of value. Yeah, what's the problem with that? Well, let me explain. So one of my mastermind partners that I've been in a mastermind with tells this story where he's up at an event in front of 500 plus people, and he pulls a wrinkled old $20 bill out of his wallet. And he says, who here will trade me $20 for this $20 bill? And, like a couple people raise their hands, and some like fanatic, big-time follower will come up to the front of the room and will swap out $20 for $20. Okay? A couple people are like, yeah, I'll take your $20 bill in exchange for another 20. And then what he does is he pulls out another $20 bill, just as wrinkled and crumpled as the first one. And he says, who will trade me $20 for this 20 and these VIP backstage passes to XYZ concert and a round trip, full expense paid vacation to Las Vegas. All of a sudden, people are rushing to the stage, willing to swap out that $20. And he goes on to demonstrate one of the greatest lessons we can ever learn. When we are marketing and selling our products, we are trying to convince people that the price matches the value. And the desire won't be very high for that, will it? You need to be able to demonstrate a minimum of 10x the value of your price. That is how you create the demand, the desire. You demonstrate that the value far exceeds the price point. Do that correctly, and you'll have the same effect as he did when he spoke on stage and offered all these extras. That's a huge, powerful lesson here. Another mistake, our promise is very vague and broad, right? Or we have multiple promises. So I'm going to help you with all these things moving forward. So this is it. In the next lesson, I'm going to simply share with you the 4 different types of offers. This is going to be really important. Some of you here want to learn how to create a membership site versus a mastermind versus coaching versus an online course. So we're going to get really clear on that. And then we're going to get our hands dirty. I'm going to help you craft your promise, your process, and your price. So by the end of this module, you're going to walk away with a completed outline of exactly what it is you're selling in a way that anybody can get on board. Your ideal customers can hear this, read it, see it, and be like, yes, I want it. All right? Okay, let's keep going. All right, hello, James Wedmore here, and welcome to module number 6. This is lesson 3, where we're going to identify the 4 types of offers. Now, there are more than 4 types of offers, but these are the 4 that I focus on. These are the 4 that I've used to build my business, and I'm going to share with you some of the pros and cons, the good, the bad, the ugly, so that you can decide which is the right type of offer for you. This isn't about, let me see how many types of offers I can create, but really, what works best for you, what works for your personality, your strengths, and for your audience. But before that, I want to talk about the 5 types of leveraged value. This is the way in which we can take your content, your expertise, your wisdom, and your experience and start to package it up and reach more people. So this is going to get you to think a little bit before we get into the specifics of an offer. So let me run through these really quickly. First of all, we have teaching. Then we have coaching and consulting. Then we have community, masterminding, and what I call the wheel. So let me take a moment and explain each of these to you, because these are the 5 ways in which you can provide value to your customers, your audience, people all over the world who are, receiving stuff from you from their living room or, straight from their laptop. So teaching is obviously the step-by-step how-to information. This is usually the basics. This is where people start when they're like, I want to create an online course. I want to show people how to get started with Photoshop, or I want to show people how to lose 5 pounds. This is step-by-step how-to information that obviously you could teach on a one-on-one basis. Someone could sit down in a coffee shop and you can teach them the 15 steps. And then if you recorded those 15 steps, well, now you could share the recordings with other people. Otherwise, tomorrow you're going to have to repeat yourself, and the next day you repeat yourself again and again and again and again. Right? This is just the dissemination of information, the transferring of knowledge from your brain to their brain. It's basically mostly what we went through in school, right? Teaching. That's why they're called teachers. But the next distinction is what we have, which is called coaching and consulting. And this is different. This is really about how to apply the how-to teaching information from the first one, teaching, so that you can help to improve the performance and effectiveness of the student. So really the concept of coaching is different in every industry, right? A coach in the fitness space is there to, tailor a workout to your needs and push you to your breaking point, which your breaking point is different from someone else's breaking point, right? Versus, a coach or a consultant for a company is basically taking strategies and principles and coming up with a plan that is tailored to, their mission statement or their company culture or their branding. It's about applying the how-to, the framework, and the principles to their specific situation. It's very important to notice the difference, that there is both, that there is, hey, here's the teaching, and then here's the coaching, right? Now let's talk about community. Community is really about providing the value of connection. Every single human, some more than others, of course, but every single human craves connection on some level. Even us introverts, right, want connection. And this is a way that you can provide value, is in the connecting of people. So you can start to look at, well, how can we just connect people? Like, we almost take it for granted, but social media is here for one reason, and it's to create that connection and sense of community. And you can curate those connections and manage that community to bring the right people together. Now, masterminding is kind of the sum of all those things. It can be very much a community, but it's also a bit more, and I like to call it leveraged coaching. A true mastermind is a community with a specific structure and framework where the members of the mastermind are actually the experts. Everyone in the room is an expert. So up until, especially 1 and 2, there's this teacher-student relationship. There's the expert and the novice. At a mastermind level, everyone is the expert. Everyone is at the same level or at a high level. So what's the benefit of this? Well, the benefit of a mastermind is really, there's a lot of benefits, but one of them is that we all have blind spots. As much of an expert as you are, as much of the experience and knowledge and wisdom that you have, moving forward and growing and getting to that next level has with it some inherent blind spots, things that you don't even know that you don't even know. And to have someone else there to just spot you and support you and ask you the right questions and encourage you is super valuable. And to know that's coming from someone who is doing what you're doing, who's at your level, can be invaluable. And then the fifth one I call the wheel, because you always hear the phrase, don't reinvent the wheel. And that's something that you want to be able to provide to your students. You don't want them to have to reinvent the wheel. You want to just give them the wheel. And so that means things like swipe files, templates, and resources. There's an opportunity to provide a ton of value to people in just doing the work for them, right? So a great example, tons of great examples, but the first one that comes to mind was from my Bartend for Profit system, the very first product I created, showing you how to create a mobile bartending business. And I would create invoices, preset invoices, and business cards, and website templates for my bartenders. It was all done for them. I just gave them the wheel. And I even use that copy, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I've done the work for you. Just copy and paste. Now, there's a lot of value in there, isn't it? Now, I'm sure there's other ways, and it's different for every audience, right? But I'm sure there are some other ways that you can start to think of how you can leverage your content and expertise. But let's recap these really quickly, because ultimately, whatever we offer should have some combination of at least 3 of these, if not all of them. There's the teaching, which is the how-to. There's the coaching, which is how do you apply the how-to. There's the community, which creates a sense of support and connection. There's masterminding, which is like VIP community, right? And then there's the wheel, which is save time, make it easier for us, okay? So now that I've gone over these, I want to kind of talk about the 4 types of offers. Well, there's actually a lot of different offers out there, okay? I don't want to limit it to 4. I want to limit it to the ones that have worked for me. So let's take a look at this. First of all, you can always do one-on-one coaching. Now, we're not going to talk about that here because, I've done one-on-one coaching, and the biggest, there's some pros and cons to one-on-one coaching. The biggest pro is that if you really want to get your hands dirty and make a difference with someone, the one-on-one is going to have a really great impact, right? Because you get to know them and customize the content and the coaching specifically to that person. But obviously, it's the least scalable, because every hour you spend with them is 1 hour away that you can't spend anywhere else. But there's also something else to point out with the one-on-one. Part of this coaching is getting people to stretch themselves beyond what they thought was possible. And they'll have their stuff come up. And if you're a coach, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And all of a sudden, if you're not careful, the dynamic in a one-on-one coaching relationship is you versus them. And the difference between a customer, the customer's always right, and you're a coach, can get very icky and yucky very fast. And so this, to me, is a great place to start. And it's also should be our goal to get out of one-on-one coaching as quickly as possible. So if you don't have any case studies, past testimonials, results, if you haven't been able to help somebody, this is the best place to start, is just to reach out and do one-on-one coaching with someone, right? But then from there, we can leverage that into group coaching, which is obviously putting people together in a group in some format. Whether it is a mastermind is very similar. We'll talk about that in a moment, the difference, right? But then, of course, there's courses and digital training. And then we have something like a membership site, and then, yes, masterminds. And then, of course, retreats, workshops, and live events. Now, I'm sure there are many different types of offers or ways in which you can package your value, your expertise, and your knowledge to provide an offer. But the only ones that we'll talk about are the ones that I have the most experience doing. And this is things like group coaching, courses and digital training, whether it's just an ebook or a video mini course or a big course, a membership site, and masterminding. Because these are something that I have all of. I have all four of these in my business. We do workshops, but usually those are bonuses that come with our programs and stuff as a bonus, right? And I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. But these are some of the options that you have available to you. So what I want to do is I just want to take a quick moment and explain what each one is and the pros and cons. And really by the end of this video, your goal should be to choose one to go through this course with, right? What is the offer, the type of offer that you're going to move forward with? So group coaching is simply an offer that combines the content and training with some sort of live or virtual component. And I think that's what really makes group coaching powerful, is that, the difference between a group coaching work, like a boot camp or program, is that there is much more of a two-way conversation. The course is being created through the members. It's not just watch these 20 videos. Maybe it's watch these videos and let's get on a call together, whether it's a Zoom call, a Skype call, a Google Hangout, or a GoToWebinar, and you're actually working with the group together. And it can be virtual or it could be in person. Now, obviously, we're talking about the internet here, and that's the ultimate way to scale and leverage. So, I'm going to always recommend that. But you could do, a group coaching, workshop in person as well. Now, the pros is that you can charge more. Now, the value goes up considerably more when they get tailored attention with you, especially if it's a small group coaching. Like, let's say you only limit it to 10 people or 20 people. Well, now there's limited supply, so the demand inherently goes up. So the value goes up. So if you position and market it properly, you should be able to demonstrate more value for a small, intimate group coaching program than just a pre-recorded course. You get that, right? There's another pro, which is, I'm always a big fan of, which is you can sell it before you create anything. Because a lot of what the group coaching is based off of is working in a group. Maybe there is some content that they're given beforehand, but a lot of the work is done together as a group. And you can follow any format you want. In a mastermind, we follow hot seats where everyone gets time to ask a question, etc. So normally the way I would run some sort of group coaching program would be they follow a framework with a specific goal. Like, we're going to do your first webinar. And then throughout the group coaching experience, it's a lot of back and forth of like, okay, let's check out your webinar. What questions do you have? Case studies with them, hot seats, etc. However, there are some cons, and it's not going to be as scalable as an online course, because if you're limiting the spots, part of the value, which you can charge more for, is that there's a good student-to-teacher ratio. But if the program is like now 100 students, even that limits yourself, right? So that's something to think about. So online courses are awesome. We love online courses. This is essentially an online course, which obviously comes with some, virtual group coaching. But an online course is pre-recorded digital content in a protected members area, right? Just like you're logging in and seeing videos and you're watching the videos. That's an online course, right? You get that. So the pros is that it's absolutely scalable and it can absolutely generate passive income when you set it up right, or active income. Like, you can do a launch, or you can do an automated launch or funnel behind it. The con, of course, the biggest con that no one talks about is that no one wants an online course except for me. Like, I love online courses. Like, I don't know why more people don't think like this, but I love the movie The Matrix. You'll hear me reference it a ton, I'm sure. But I love how in the movie The Matrix, they can just download information on how to fly a helicopter, and then now they know jujitsu, or they know how to fly the helicopter, right? That's how we look at online courses. Like, I can go through an online course so fast and learn just that one thing that's going to give me an edge over everybody else. And, people don't look at it that way, I guess. But most people do not want an online course. And so, obviously, your work as a marketer becomes paramount. That becomes essential. You cannot be an average marketer or below average marketer with extraordinary course sales. So your work becomes so much more about, how the heck do I sell this thing? How do I market myself? How do I get traffic? How do I build my list? How do I do webinars? How do I do launches, right? This is why you're here. That's why you're here, because most of you have tried to create an online course and you're like, it didn't work. I put it out there and no one bought it. And that's because no one wants it. But they do want their problem solved. And when you can become an extraordinary marketer, an effective communicator, and a great listener, then you can make this work. You can hack this. And that's what we're here to do, right? But, that's kind of what you got to know that you're up against, right? So, but, again, I love online courses because I love to package my teaching into a system, get it recorded, and then I can just never have to worry about what I said ever again because it's there permanently, right? And yes, it's passive and active income. Okay, membership sites very similar, but also very different to an online course. This is going to be really anything where people are paying monthly to remain a member. That's the big distinction we're making when it comes to creating a membership site, is that people are paying either monthly or on some continual basis. And if they stop paying, they're no longer a member, right? So we run a membership site as well. So I have over 15 courses that I have active. I've had more in the past, and a monthly membership site. The biggest pro is that for those of you who do not like selling, you just sell it once and you get paid again and again. Like, to continue making money is just about continuing being awesome into your members, right? Like, just give them more value. So that's the biggest pro. The con is it actually is, and not many people tell you this, is that a membership site is harder to sell than an online course, because you're basically asking people to pay you month after month after month. Hey, will you just pay me for infinity and you can cancel at any time? People are very wary to that type of stuff. And so there's a very specific way in which you can sell a membership site, and most people get it wrong. So we actually will have bonus training for you inside Business by Design on the way in which we sell our membership site, which is a very unique, distinctive way. Okay, there is another con that I want to at least just discuss to be transparent with you, which this is very important. It's always important to kind of know your big plan, right? So if you have a membership site, you usually are a low priced point. Usually, right? I put that in quotes, like a $20, $30, $40, $50, usually between $20 to $100 a month is what you're paying for. And if you have another program that's like a $2,000 or $1,000 program, a lot of people start to question, or you start to find that people will perceive the membership site as a $40 product versus a $1,000 product or a $2,000 product. And you'll kind of see people are confused as to why do you have a $40 product and a $1,000 product. And if you're not careful with marketing, your positioning, and understanding your product suite first, you can start to create this internal competition and confusion for your stuff. So I'm not trying to knock membership site. We have one. We love it. But we have to be very careful as to what our membership site is and isn't, so that people don't look at one of my signature programs like Business by Design and say, oh, I'll just get Real Marketing Insider because it's only $49. It's a very different thing. So that's something very important to keep into mind. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is a mastermind. A mastermind can be virtual or an in-person experience. Napoleon Hill is the first one that really coined, or that we've ever found reference to the original source of what the word mastermind means. And it's simply, in the simplest terms, it's a group of like-minded individuals, right, that have each other's best interest at heart. That's it. That's a mastermind. Like-minded individuals who each want the others to be as successful as they want for themselves to be successful. That's it. But it does, if you want to create and facilitate, most people want a mastermind and they're not willing to do what it takes to form their own. So there is an opportunity, especially in the business and marketing space, to create that. And it follows a very specific format. We don't really teach the format or anything here because it's deserving of its own course. But the simplest thing is that we have, just so you know, for our mastermind, is that we do 4 live events a year. And each person gets a hot seat. And a hot seat is basically they get in the front of the room, they ask a question, and the rest of the group gives them the answer. So the pro is that this is an opportunity for very high-ticket, VIP, awesome people, attracting the top 5% or top 1% of your audience, and charging a lot of money for it. And it usually becomes the easiest sell and the most fun to do. It's also very effective for the members. So, it's kind of like pretty easy and awesome that my, best testimonials and the people I get to brag about the most come from my inner circle. It's almost like not fair, right? And then there are some cons. It's a big commitment. You don't have to do a year-long mastermind like I do, but it is a commitment either way. If you're meeting up in person, there's work to be done. If it's over a course of a year, yeah, that's huge, right? Now, this isn't necessarily a con, but it's something that you need to really take in consideration, is that your number one priority with a mastermind is attracting the right members. So even though it's very high ticket, it's not about saying, sweet, 10 people want to join my $20,000 program. I just made $200,000. Did I do the math right? It's definitely not that, because we've had to turn down a lot of people that wanted to give us money because they weren't a right fit for the group. And you have to be very good at that. So that's not necessarily a con, but to truly make a mastermind work, you can't just be accepting anybody. There has to be an application process, okay? So anyways, we're not really talking about any of this here. We're just talking about how to do this. We're just talking about what type of offers are available. So the 4 that I went a little bit deeper on right now are the group coaching, courses and, online courses and digital training, membership sites, and masterminding. You're not limited to those, but that's what we kind of focus on going further, especially as you get into our bonus sections and you look at our launch maps and execution guides. I show you how to launch each of these, which I think you're going to like. But this is a great time to stop and really get clear on, what are you offering? And the beautiful thing is it can be any combination of it, right? Our mastermind meets up in person, but it has monthly group coaching calls. My program, my online course, Business by Design, has digital group coaching and a live workshop. My membership site has group coaching involved with it too. So it can really be any combination. It's up to you, but you need to know what type of offers are out there. Okay. I hope you've picked one. If not, take the time and select, really get clear on what the type of offer is that you are providing or going through this training. You can have multiple, of course, because in the next video, we're going to start drilling down, getting our hands dirty, and helping you to craft your promise, then the process in which you deliver that promise, and then finally your price. It's going to get good. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. James Wedmore here. This is Module 6, Lesson number 5, where we're going to go in and craft your process. By the end of this video, you should have two very important things that are 2/3 of the way done with your offer. First, it's, I know what my promise is. I know what I'm promising. You must have that in order to continue in this video. If you don't have that yet, do whatever you can to get clarity on that. Because here, by the end of this video, you're going to have total clarity on, well, what's included? What's all the stuff that they get when they purchase, okay? So that's what we mean by process. This is how you deliver your promise. If your promise is to lose 10 pounds in 30 days, well, what do I get with that? How are we going to make that a reality? So this is the content, the deliverables, and all that good stuff that they get. So it's going to be made up of all this stuff. The medium, okay? The training, the resources, the support, and the bonuses. So we're going to jump right into it so we can get clarity on all of this. So what do we mean by the medium? Well, this is the format in which your content will be consumed. So if you're doing like a, 30 days of, stress-free relaxation, meditations, well, that should probably just be audio MP3s, right? Like that would be the format. But if it's like how to do Photoshop, it should be like an online video. So here's some of the options we have. Online videos, text, which could be PDFs, emails. I know people that do like email courses that are drip fed, or online articles. And of course, audio, right? Just something to listen to. I've purchased several audio courses before. One that came to mind is from Mind Valley. You just put them in your ears and you just start listening. You don't need an online video, right? But online video is going to be great if you have a lot of slides and demonstrations and visuals and screen capture type stuff. That's going to be really important for you, okay? So those are pretty much your three options for online and digital. Obviously, the other format is in-person and live training, okay? So which option works best for you? Now, obviously, it can be a combination. Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But what is the most effective way for you to communicate your message so your students will get the desired results? They'll fulfill on the promise that you set forth for them. So you want to make sure that you've identified that. How are we going to deliver this content? And ultimately, remember, it's up to you. There is no right or wrong way. You are now the course creator. You are the leader, the teacher, the authority. So this is your choice. You don't come to me and say, what's the right way to do this? You determine the right way to do this. Okay? That's it. Now, you can always survey your audience, but, I think it's irrelevant. Hey, which way do you like to consume my content more? You pick one, you run with it, you see what happens, right? If they want, I'd really like the transcripts of this. Okay, if enough people ask, you can add the transcripts. But what are you going to lead with? That's the medium. Now let's go into the training. This is fun. This is the content that is included within your offer or your product. So if you're going to show people how to lose 10 pounds in 30 days, well, what content is included? Are you teaching them things? Are you giving them a calendar? Like, what do they get, right? So the way we do this, and you don't have to do this at all, is modules and lessons. You can see that in here. It's 10 modules. That's on the intense side. Normally a course with 4 to 8 modules is like plenty. And then within the module, so modules kind of like chapters, and within the modules there are lessons. And the lessons are individual videos. Okay, so that's how we break it up. And here's a massive hint for you. Every module and every lesson should really be its own promise and benefit. That's the secret to all this stuff, is you've got this huge core promise that fulfills on the ultimate solution that they really want with a very specific measurable result. And then every single module and lesson is all the little promises that they want as well. Like, I really want to figure out these 5 hacks for working faster or be more productive, right? All those little things that they want as well becomes every module and lesson. Instead of just making this like a boring college curriculum class with your textbook, this can be fun. This can be every this is what they really want here, so I'm going to teach that there, right? It's a chance to continue to sell your course, because when you go to your sales page, there's going to be a list of the entire course, everything that's included, and every word that they read should be there to inspire more desire and demand for your product, okay? So here's an example from my good buddy Stu McLaren's new program, Tribe, that just released, and here's one of his modules, okay? So it's a module, and obviously there's a series of lessons within here, but if you start to notice, there is copy written about the module. It's there, the actual topic that you're going to learn is there to get you more and more excited about wanting to buy the course. So the module's called Your Retention Strategy, and he says, this is your plan for keeping people happy and paying month after month. Well, that sounds like a pretty good benefit right there. Here's a plan for keeping people happy and paying month after month. If you don't have a plan for this, you're in trouble. Okay, so he's talking about, just like we did in the previous video, he's talking about what is the promise and result that's available. Well, happy and paying month after month. And what's the consequence of not doing this? Well, you're going to be in trouble. If you aren't intentional about designing a retention strategy, you'll lose a lot of people each month, and therefore a lot of money. So now he's talking about you're either going to get people happy and paying month after month, or you're going to lose people and lose money. Okay? So everything here, from the bullet points to every word, is intentionally designed to further sell the program. So all those other, promises that you're like, gosh, James made me come up with just this one promise. What do I do with all the others? You turn them into modules. Okay? Look at some of the bullet points here. The real reasons people stay. One minor tweak that instantly tripled the lifetime customer value. Okay? Why the first 45 days are crucial to your success, and the 7 actions you want every member taking. Is just some examples here. Now, to further clarify this, because we're not going to map out your course here today, because I have training on it, one of the bonuses you get is called Course in a Weekend. And the number one thing that Course in a Weekend helps you fulfill on is flushing out your outline. What modules and lessons need to be included. So I take you through that. If you haven't gone through it, go through it now. Create your course in a weekend. All right? That's included here with Business by Design. Now we have to move on. We're talking about the resources next. Now you don't need resources, but why not? You want to provide as much value as possible, and you'll see why in the next video, because it'll help you increase your price. Anything that can help make their lives easier is now a resource. So links or a link guide, like we do Buyer's Guide, diagrams, images, infographics, visuals, templates, right? I give you guys a sales webinar template, fill in the blanks. Swipe files, I give you guys email copy, sales page, sales video copy, and workbooks. These are all resources to help people. Here's an example of this. Our webinar launch guide is a combination of diagrams, templates, and swipe files, and links. It's all of it, right? It's just like, I'm making your life a lot easier. How can you make your ideal customer, your new customers, and their lives a heck of a lot easier? All right, next is the support. I think a huge thing today that we have to remember is people want to feel supported. They don't want to feel like they're buying into a ghost town where they can't get access and help that they need. So how can you make your members feel supported? Customer support access. First of all, that's kind of a no-brainer, but is it easy that if they can't log into their email or they can't log into the members area or something's broken, can they get a hold of somebody? Do they know that there's someone there that can assist them? Facebook group. Private Facebook group is fantastic for creating a community. we do a comments feature, as you know. You can leave a comment right below this video, right? Or a forum. Now, it isn't about doing all of these. It's about choosing the right one for you. And then coaching calls, right? We get on a GoToWebinar, and I just answer your questions. That's another way that you can feel supported. Or Facebook Lives within a Facebook group, right? What else? What else could you provide to make people feel supported? I would encourage you to have at least 2 things inside your offer, okay? Now, we're going to talk about the bonuses. Oh, my goodness. This is one of my favorite things to go over. So bonuses are what really sell your course. Do not overlook the bonuses for a lot of reasons. This is your chance to continue to talk about the course, continue to sell the course, and put people who are on the fence over the edge. And first and foremost, the bonuses are what we call an objection buster. There's one thing standing in the way from you in the sale, and that's that voice in that customer's head. That voice, that darn monkey mind, is the objection or a series of objections. Okay? And we can use our bonuses to address and bust those objections. So you're actually going to want to turn as much of your content into bonuses as possible. In fact, one of my Inner Circle clients, members, we just had this conversation. I was like, we did the exercise I'm going to take you through in a moment, and I came up with an idea for a bonus for him. I was like, oh, you should do this as your bonus. And he goes, well, that's already in the course. I was like, I don't care. Take it out of the course, make it a bonus. Take it out of the course, make it a bonus. What? Are you sure? Yes, absolutely. So here's the first piece of the exercise. You're going to want to take a new piece of paper out or the provided worksheet, whatever works. And on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, right, you just draw a line in the center. You're going to write down a list of the biggest objections that your ideal customer might have about purchasing. Now, one of the smartest things that I did was I went to my beta members, which, by the way, you can do this as well as your, because you don't need to come up with your bonuses until you're ready to launch it live. So this doesn't need to be complete right now. But what I did is I went to my beta members, and you can actually find this comment if you did a search for it, and you can actually find the responses. And I said, hey, betas, huge quick request. I'm working on the copy for Business by Design. I'm looking to flush out a few more objections. If I had promised you the plan or map to creating a thriving 6-figure business around your content and training, what would still be your biggest objections? And then I put in quotes. That sounds nice, James, but what? And I had 26 members share with me their biggest objections. They told me what their objections were, and we made our entire marketing and our bonuses around addressing these objections. Okay. Now, what I want to do is take a moment and talk about objections here, because we're not going to talk about them anywhere else. So I just call the bonus is the antithesis to the objection. Like, it's the objection buster. So it's a perfect place to talk about it here. There's 2 types of objections that I see. The first one is what we call a universal objection. This is the objection that we're all going to face. Things like, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and I don't think this is going to work for me. I don't think you're going to work for me. I don't like you. I don't believe you. I don't trust you. Right? Those are the big 3. Okay? We all have to deal with those. You're all going to face those. Every single one of you. If you are hearing my voice, you will have to address these objections. And a lot of what our marketing does is to do that. So how can we show people they can do this quickly? How can we show them the value is there? And then how can we prove to them that this will work for them? Okay? So even just looking at I don't have the money is normally not the case. You might tell me, James, I don't have the money. And then if I told you that I have a brand new Lamborghini sitting outside and I want to give it to you for $1,000, even if you didn't have the money, would you go find it? Would you go find $1,000? Yeah, you probably would. Why is that? Well, it's simple. A Lamborghini has a ton of value associated with it, and $1,000 in comparison, even though $1,000 is a lot of money, $1,000 is nothing compared to the value of the Lamborghini. So when someone tells you, I don't have the money, they're actually saying, I don't see the value in what you're selling. And that means you can do a much better job of communicating the value. Now, real quickly, I want to get into product-specific objections. Now, I can't do these objections for you. This is where you're going to have to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the customer or ask the customer or just start to do your launches and see what they come up with. This is one of the reasons why I recommend launching with a webinar first, because when you make your pitch, you open it up to Q&A, and every question is one form or another of an objection, right? So these are product-specific objections. They're different for every product. They're different for every niche or industry. And so the example I'm going to run with here is when I sell my YouTube course, right? So here I am making a promise of you're going to reach more people, attract more customers on YouTube. So there's already a ton of objections that are going to come up with this beyond I don't have the time and the money and I don't think this is going to work for me. So if I can address all those, the next thing they're going to say is, well, I don't want to be on camera. Do I have to be on camera? That's usually how it shows up as a question. Can I do this without being on camera? That means they don't want to do it. That sounds nice, James, but I don't want to be on camera. Number two, making videos, editing videos takes a lot of time. I don't have the time. So it's the same as the universal objection, but this is more specific to my product as in editing. And then video is too expensive. Now there's more, right? But these are the three that we go with. So what the heck does objections have to do with bonuses? Well, let me show you now. This screenshot above are 4 essential bonuses that I've included for people who buy my YouTube course. And you'll notice bonus number 2, and I didn't include all the copy here. This is kind of like a summary of them, is a shoestring buyer's guide so that you can purchase all your equipment for less than $100. Notice objection C is called video is too expensive. And my bonus is demonstrating how you can get everything for under $100. My video buyer's guide, my shoestring video buyer's guide. Okay, let's look at objection B. Editing takes a long time. And bonus 3, outsource your videos. And the copy basically says how you can outsource all your videos for as little as $2 to $3 an hour so you can save time. I address the objection of editing takes a long time. Just outsource it. And then objection A, I don't want to be on camera. Well, bonus number 4 is 9 faceless video strategies. I show them 9 types of videos that you can make without ever having to be in front of the camera. Boom. That is how, one way, our bonuses can solve the objection that they have before they even have it. So when I present these bonuses in my offer, I'm sitting here saying, something along the lines of, now bonus number 2 is for anybody who thinks video is too expensive or you're on a tight budget. I've put together a shoestring video buyer's guide so you can buy all the equipment you'll ever need for less than $100. And sometimes way more than that, right? So I just addressed the objection head on and solved it. And the same with all those bonuses. So here's the exercise. You're going to write the objections, all the objections you can think of, the broad ones, like I don't have the time, who is this person, I don't trust this person, all the way down to the product-specific ones, right? So if you're in fitness, it's going to be someone who's like, do I need a gym membership? I don't have any weights. I don't have the time to work out. I don't have any workout. I don't know, whatever you can come up with. And then on the right side, you're going to identify bonuses that will address. They don't necessarily need to solve the objection, just address it in some way or capacity. Okay? And that's how you're going to come up with your bonuses. And you can have as many bonuses as you want, but I'm sure people are going to ask, well, how many bonuses do I need? You can have a lot, because one of the things that we'll get into when we launch is how to present these bonuses. So right now, don't worry about it. Come up with as many as you can. Come up with 10. 10? That sounds crazy. Okay, well, we can always choose. We can always say no to a few. But as we get into how to launch effectively, using bonuses strategically is one of the most effective things that we can do in our marketing. So take the time, do this exercise now. Okay, I just want to wrap up this video and make sure that you don't continue until you have the following, right? This is all about identifying what's the process for delivering your promise. what is the medium, video, text, audio, or live in person, that you're going to deliver your promise, the content? What training is included? These are your modules and lessons, or however you want to do it. You don't even have to use the word modules. You don't have to use lessons. It's up to you. And then what resources, what support, and what bonuses? You should have at least a good outline of this before moving forward. And the reason is in the next video, when we identify your price, this will really help. Okay? So thanks so much for watching. I had a blast with this video. I hope you did too. I hope there was a lot of clarity, a lot of light bulbs going off. Let's continue in the next lesson, where we'll identify and craft your right price. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. James Wedmore here. This is module number 6. We're crafting your offer, and in this lesson, I'm going to help you craft the first piece of your offer, which is the big core promise. This is ultimately what you are promising and the value that you are delivering as a result, outcome, or accomplishment of going through your offer, going through your program, your course, your membership site, etc. Okay? So grab your pen and paper, download the worksheet, because this is very exercise-based. So to recap, the promise is the clear, concise, and concrete result or transformation that your product provides. And the promise includes who this is for, what problem it solves, and ultimately what solution is then available. When we address the problem, what result are we providing that makes the problem obsolete? And there are two problems, the internal problem and the external problem, right? So those are kind of some things to keep in mind as we go through this. So in this lesson, by the end of the lesson, we really should have your promise nailed down, and it should be really clear and concise, because it is 90% of your offer. So if you look at this, we said 90% of the reason why a promotion or launch fails is because of the offer. And the promise makes up 90% of the offer. So this is one of the most valuable, important, and essential things that we can do. So take your time here, and use the Facebook group for feedback. So here's some best practices to keep in mind. Number 1, be specific, measurable, concrete, and detailed. When we finish this exercise, that's one of the things you're going to go back and say, is this specific? And don't lie to yourself, right? Like, good enough. Is it specific and really measurable? How can we measure this, right? You can measure a piece of wood with a tape measure. Can you measure the result that you're promising? Is it tangible and concrete and detailed and specific, right? Now, the other is less is more, right? Trying to be every promise to every person is going to do more harm than good. And then, you've heard this phrase before, right? Sell them what they want and then deliver what they need. So is this truly something that they want, that they're asking for? That's the easiest way to do this. And then, does this help, and does your offer have something to do to save them time, save money, or make money and produce a specific result? Time and money are going to be the biggest objections that people have. So can you tie that into your offer? How to do it quicker, how to do it in 30 minutes or less, right? How to do it on a shoestring budget, and then the specific result as well. People are going to have those objections of, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't think this is going to work for me. And then ultimately, we want to, whatever we come up with in the exercise of these next few questions, come from the data from our surveys inside, phase 1. You don't just do a survey and then go, oh, that was fun, let's do something else now. Take the actual answers and information from that survey and try and just add it to your answer. And then we talked about this in one of the previous videos, but you really want to look to creating and identifying the internal problem and making the promise an external solution. And the example I have here is when I had a product in the dating space. We had a product on how to get your ex back. And, that product did extremely well. I just did the marketing on it. I was not the relationship coach, because we would talk about the internal problems of feeling alone and heartbroken and wondering what their ex was doing right now. And the external solution was having your ex back in your arms or having your ex calling you to apologize, right? Very visual, specific, external promise and an internal emotion struggle or negative emotion. Okay? So those are some of the things to keep in mind as we go through this. Grab your worksheet now because here we go. The best way to do this is start looking to the past to inform us. Can you imagine your best case study? Someone who was your ideal client, someone who got the best results, someone who just kicked butt from whatever you offered and trained, even on a one-on-one level, or someone who just kind of followed a little bit of your training. And if you don't have a best case study, well, I'm going to want you to do two things. Go through this exercise anyway and just imagine that you have a best case study. I know you're going to have to use a little bit of the imagination. But number two, well, you're going to want to go through and get that best case study as soon as possible. And that's where the pre-release, which is the next phase, comes in. When you create this founding members opportunity, this beta course, you're going to have some of your best case studies in there, and you're going to want to support them in the best way possible. So, okay, do you have this best case study in mind? You're going to start writing down the answers to these questions. How have you helped them? How did you help them? Think about that for a second. How did you help them? What results do they have as a result of your experience with them? What measurable results do they have? What is life like for them now? And can you expand this into the future? If they keep going on this track, what's life going to be like for them in the future? Next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? This is the most important thing to me. I always believe this is one of the most powerful exercises that we can do. So don't take this lightly. If you want to do this 2 to 3 to 4 times, do it with your 2 to 3 to 4 best case studies. Start writing down how you've helped each of them and talk about everything, even the little things like, well, you know, they came to me for this coaching, but I really helped them with that. And what they're really glad, you know, what they talk about the most and what's really different, all of that, okay? So pause this video, really get into this, really do the work here. This is not a go through the motions. This is not your favorite Netflix show where I'm just here to entertain you. This is work. This is the action item. This is the homework right now. Pause this video, do the work. All right. Did you do it? I hope you did, because we got another one for you. Here's the next question. What is the cost of not buying or using your product, of not having this problem solved? In other words, what would happen if they didn't address this issue? What would their life look like? What would be the consequences? How would it get worse? What would it look like a year, 2, 3, 4, or 5? What is the ultimate impact or consequence of having this go unaddressed? Where does this become worse? Right? What is the cost of not buying your product? Pause this video, answer that now. Okay. I hope you're doing that. I hope you're just writing as much as you can right now. This is a creative exercise time. The next question is, who will your customer become as a result of your training, your product, or your offer? Who will they now be seen as? Who do they want to become? How do they want others to see them? This is where you can draw on a little bit of the ego. How do people want to be perceived by others? What do they want others to say about them? This is really important. Pause this video, write it down. Okay, now that we're really getting some clarity on what they want and what they don't want, let's see how we can put some ease on how much time it takes and how much work it takes. So, how can you provide these type of results, the results that you've described, as easily as possible? How can you make this entire process as easily as possible for your ideal customer? Think of all the ways. Start writing. Okay. And if you haven't paused this video, I'll ask this question, then you pause it. How can you get these results for your customer faster? How can you get the results faster. People want it easy and fast. Quick and easy. Pause this video, start writing. Okay. Well, hopefully you found some clarity in these questions. Hopefully you've found some clarity from the research phase. This is the ultimate question. What is the ultimate outcome that you provide for your ideal customer? Get specific, detailed, concrete, and measurable here. What is the ultimate outcome that you provide? If they follow your training to a T, they are the most ideal, perfect student, better than your perfect student. And they do everything you ask of them, and they have the best results possible. What is the ultimate outcome? And make it specific. Okay, did you pause that? Did you write that down? This is hopefully enough to give you clarity on what your big promise is. A good place to start. Now, if you feel like you have a good idea, the final step before we continue is to create some sort of feedback loop. And what I mean by this is maybe you've come up with one or two or three, right, of these ultimate outcomes. Maybe you're a little confused still. Well, ultimately, the only way that you can get clarity is to begin to find new ways to ask your audience. You know, and you can do this very creatively, right? You can do this in your beta workshop or your beta course with your founding members. You can do another survey. You can do it in a Facebook group. You can email your people. The other thing that you can do is you can create emails and blog posts about each one of these ultimate outcomes, and you can see which one gets more traction, which one has people get more excited, okay? Now, you don't have to do any of this, but it takes work putting together a course and fulfilling on an offer. And you might as well make sure that you've nailed it down now versus going through all the work like I did only to find out that people don't really want it. Okay? But that's your final piece of C. Is there a way in which I can complete this feedback loop to affirm that this is what people want? So that's lesson 4, where I've taken you through a very simple process of helping you craft your core promise, the big promise that you provide for your course, your membership site, etc. I do this for everything that we offer, even my Inner Circle Mastermind, and hopefully now you've been able to accomplish this. If you do have your core promise, your big fat promise, and you'd love to share it, please post it in the comments below this video. And if you're not sure what it is, if you still need help, well, you know, first thing I want to recommend is go to your audience, go to your list, go to your subscribers, and do another round of surveying them. Like, kind of say, hey, what do you like better, this or this? Or to, you know, send some blog posts out to them, some emails, see which emails get opened more. But you can also post in the Facebook group and see what the other members of Business by Design have as feedback for you. Thanks so much for watching. In the next video, I'm going to take you through how to identify your process, what's included in order to deliver fully on this big promise that you just came up with. So I'll see you in that next lesson. Take care. Welcome back. Module number 6, crafting your offer. And in this lesson, lesson 6, we're going to go ahead and craft your price. In other words, we're going to help you, if you're not clear already, identify the right price point for your offer. So this is the third ingredient of our offer, right? Just to recap, you've got the promise, the process, and now the price. So in order to effectively go through this lesson, you should have a clear core promise. You should be very clear on the process. What are the deliverables, the modules, the training, the medium, the bonuses, all that good stuff. And now we're going to finish this up with the price. Now, obviously, on the surface level, the price is how much people will agree to pay for your product. Done. However, it includes a few things like the value, then the price, payment plans, guarantees, upsells, and any other restrictions or requirements that you may or may not have when it comes to purchasing your offer. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through all of these things so you can get clear on the value, the price, the payment plans, the guarantee, the upsells, and any other restrictions that might be available. But let's look at some of the best practices, some things to keep in mind as we go through this. First of all, price is marketing, right? The price tag we put on something immediately conjures up a perception, an emotion, an opinion, and a belief about your offer. So, here's a question for you. What is your price saying about your product? Aren't there times when you like to splurge on a few things and kind of say, treat yourself when you buy that high price or expensive item, whether it's a fancy dinner or maybe it's like your expensive, overpriced Lululemon athletic gear? You like spending a little more sometimes to know I'm getting the nice stuff. And then you're proud to wear it or share it or talk about it, right? Price is marketing. The second thing is price is a magnet. Who are you attracting with your price? There is a reason, there is a website called People of Walmart, and the entire site is dedicated to candid photos of some of the interesting folks that find their way into a Walmart. Well, what is Walmart already synonymous for? It's being the low price leader, right? It's the cheapest prices, even if that's true or not. There's actually been, research or just studies that prove that Walmart doesn't always have the cheapest prices. You could go in there and compare stuff to Amazon and get it cheaper on Amazon. But you believe that when you walk in there, you're getting the cheapest stuff. And so by doing that, it really attracts a different crowd of people, right? The weird, interesting people of Walmart. So price is a magnet, and you must be willing to understand, you must get this, that the higher price you charge, the higher caliber of people you're going to attract, right? That when you charge a higher price, the people who pay that higher price are more likely to commit to your training. They're more likely to take it seriously. They're more advanced. They're more sophisticated. I mean, for me, things like buying a $2,000 course for me today are a no-brainer if it's going to help me in my business, right? And the people that are stuck really, is this $47 thing really going to be worth it? Those are the tire kickers. They're looking for everything that could make it wrong, everything that's bad about it, right? So if you're having issues right now with low caliber customers and people that complain a lot and don't get results, raise your prices. But that's the question you want to ask. Who are you attracting with your current price point? Or who do you want to attract, right? And price wars have no winners. When you're trying to really discover what differentiates you, what has you stand out from the marketplace, it ultimately shouldn't be a lower price. So what else can you compete on? We're not really going to talk about the other differentiating factors here, but one of the mistakes people make is they say, oh, well, there's already somebody doing this. Well, I'm just going to offer it cheaper. And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous because price wars have no winners because all they could do is lower their price, right? Instead, you want to look at ways to add more value. Now, one exception I'll share with you, and I never went into this market, but I almost did. When I was back doing my bartending stuff, I found a guy who was teaching you how to do like flair bartending and stuff like that. And that was one of my first memberships that I wanted to create. He would charge you $100 a year for the membership site. And it was like $100 a year. Like, who wants to pay $100 a year? And so my idea was that I was going to just charge $20 a month. And then the goal would be to keep them for a year, and that would add up to more than $100. And so we weren't really competing on price. It was more on a better marketing model that nobody really wants to pay $100 a year, but it's a lot easier to ask for $20 a month and then keep people happy for a year. Okay, so something to kind of consider, that was actually a higher price point, but just positioned differently. But if your only competitive advantage is that you're cheaper, especially when it comes to content and coaching, you're going to be in a lot of trouble really fast. So we want to go up on price, not down. Okay, the next thing is when it comes to setting your price, ideally, you just want to be in the top 10%. So what you want to do is you want to find out what is the rest of your market charging? What is the cheapest price point in your market? And then what's the most expensive for comparable products and offers? And you want to be somewhere in that 10%. So let's say you're in your fitness and you're like, well, I see people selling $20 ebooks. And I also see some people that are doing like $297, programs. Okay, great. So you can either be $197 to $297 or like $397 to $500. Like you want to be at the highest end possible. And if you're comfortable, if you're going to provide enough value, you can look into being even higher. But you want to play in that top percentage. That's the goal. Okay, so that's the answer. How should you set your price? That's the ultimate answer right there, is look for the top 10% and play in that ballpark. So when people create signature programs in the marketing space, a lot of them are $2,000. Now, I know people that do more, but most of them are $2,000. So I'm going to play there. I'm not going to say, oh, well, everyone else is doing $2,000 courses. I'll do $500. No, I'm going to charge the top percentage, okay? So here's another way to do this. If you followed the last lesson completely, you should now have a list of modules, lessons, bonuses, and resources. And what you can do is right now is go back to that list and identify the value of everything that you listed out. So what is the value of all the training that you're providing? What's the value of all those bonuses and resources? Now, some people go, oh, what is these arbitrary numbers that people are placing on it? Well, here's the deal. I've mentioned it before, and we'll mention it again, I'm sure. Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely talks about this concept of price relativity, that a number by itself means nothing. So you just put a price on it. If I say $1,000, you don't know if that's really a lot of money or a little, right? $1,000 for a candy bar is like the most expensive candy bar ever. $1,000 for that Lamborghini is a no-brainer. So when you start putting values next to each thing, you create context. You create the juxtaposition, the price relativity, okay? So you need to have a value. In other words, what is this worth? How much did it cost you to learn this yourself? And if someone were to implement this, how much value financially, monetarily, would it add to their life? Don't skip this, because this is huge. And then this basic rule of thumb is once you add up all the value of all the bonuses, all the modules, all the lessons, you divide that by 10. And the reason is very simple, that we want to be able to convey a minimum of 10 times the value for what our offer is, right? That we don't want to trade, like I said before, dollars for value, but we want to be able to say that we've got something of massive value, and I'm just going to ask for a fraction of that as a price, okay? So I've given you two little exercises here, two ways in which you can start to hone in on the price. And that's all I'm going to give you. Ultimately, it's up to you. I asked you some great questions, like who do you want to attract with price, and what is price saying about your marketing and your product? And ultimately, you can either follow these two steps of write down the value of everything and divide by 10 and see what you start to come up with. And you want to also cross-reference that with what's the top 10% of your market charging? And you want to work with that as well, okay? I want to move on. I want to talk about some of the other things. We've talked about value. We've talked about price. Let's talk about payment plans. Now, payment plans can be great because they give you the opportunity to have more buyers, right? Because it's a lower initial barrier of entry. Instead of $1,000, it's $97 today and then 11 additional payments of $97. But if not done properly, it can also be more headaches. So we'll talk about this for a little bit here and give you some best practices. Okay, so obviously the headaches are if you don't have someone or something in place to collect on failed payment plans, you're going to be in trouble. So best practices, I only recommend one payment plan So you're not confusing them. It's like, well, you can do a 3 pay, you can do a 10 pay, you can do a 2 pay, or you can do a 50 pay. No. It's pay in full or a payment plan, okay? And it should be cheaper to pay in full. No, actually, it needs to be cheaper, not should. It needs to be cheaper to pay in full. You have to find as many ways as possible to incentivize people to pay in full. They should save money when paying in full. And in fact, you should probably offer, it's nice to offer a bonus for those who pay in full. We offered a live event, a live workshop for those who pay in full for Business by Design. And then you can also use upsells and back-end offers to pay off their balance. So one thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in upsells, is that if someone bought a 3 pay, you could have the upsell say to pay off the remaining balance, to pay in full, and maybe you give them a bonus or whatever you gave the pay in full people. Okay. And then, and that works. It works really well. You need to have a process in place for collecting failed payments because payments will fail. Okay. So that's the payment plans. Here's another thing. When you present your offer and you present your price, you want to lead with the payment plan. So you can say something like, you can get started for just $97 today. In fact, if you choose our payment plan, it's just 12 installments of $97. Or you can pay in full and save. So that's how we do it. We lead with the payment plan and then give the option to pay in full and save. And you say, and when you pay in full, you're also going to get a bonus, our live workshop or this extra training, etc. Okay? Here's another way in which we kind of did it. We broke them out side by side. So you can see it's 3 payments of $697 on the left or 1 payment of $1997 on the right. And you'll notice that on the left column, there's an X at the bottom where they don't get the exclusive 2-day event. And on the right, they do. Okay? So that's how we did it. That's our payment plan. Okay. Do you want a payment plan? Should you have a payment plan? Hopefully you have some clarity on that. We have to move on. I want to talk about the guarantee. The guarantee is simply a marketing and copywriting tool that is used to address one of the biggest objections, which is, what if this doesn't work for me? What if I don't like it? Am I going to get ripped off here? It's dealing with the feeling and worry of risk. So how will you address this objection? And how are you going to convey trust? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to ask these questions and you see what works for you. You could have no guarantee or refund policy. You don't have to. And some people do. In fact, I do. For my inner circle, it is very clear that there is no refund, no guarantee. At that level, you're not going to spend time with me and then I'm going to give you your money back. It ain't going to happen. And at that level, especially because there's a lot of front-end work from applications and interviews, you know, I feel like having a guarantee and a refund policy isn't necessary because it's almost like we're so confident in what we can do that I don't need to make anything like that. And if you're worried about, oh, what if this doesn't work for me, then you're not a right fit for us. Okay? So notice how they're the right options for the right offer. Okay? Now, the most common guarantee is a time-based, no questions asked guarantee and refund. So you could do something like the 30-day, the 60-day, the 90-day. Those are the most common ones. And then, of course, after that, the only other one you'd really want to do is 365 or a lifetime. Okay. Now, all I'm going to say about this when you say, which is the best for me, is that the longer the refund period is, in other words, the more time that you give them to go through the course and get results, the lower your refunds are actually going to be. Because what happens is if you say a 30-day refund policy, well, you're only going to give them 30 days to get results. And if they don't feel like they have results yet at day 29, they're going to say, I'm out. So you give them more time. They feel like they have more space and less pressure to get the results. So if you're worried about refunds, it's very counterintuitive, hashtag backwards, but you're going to actually want a longer refund period. So increasing to 60, 90, or 365 would actually be helpful. It sounds scary and backwards and risky, but, you know, you can always test it. And then the third one is a contingency guarantee, which is something along the lines of like, you must show that you've done the work, you must complete the homework, you must complete the course. And you can create anything like this. And these are really powerful because this shows it demonstrates that I know this system works, and I know there are people out there that just want to take my course, download it, and refund, and I'm not going to let that happen. So if you want your money back, you have to show that you did the work, and you have lifetime to do that, or you have a year to go through it and take the time to go through the course, okay? So those are your options for a guarantee. I'm sure there are more. I know we've done it in the past where there's double your money back, where like if you show us that you did the work and it didn't work, we'll actually give you double your money back. That's like a contingency plus money, you know what I mean? So you can get really creative here, but at the end of the day, how will you address the objection of, what if this doesn't work for me? What if this isn't a right fit? Am I going to lose money here? That's what your guarantee solves. All right, we'll talk briefly about upsells here. I don't recommend doing any upsells the first time you launch, okay? It's just one piece that you don't need in order to launch. You can always do it later. But an upsell is simply an option that your customer has to upgrade their order as soon as they press submit on their initial purchase without having to submit their payment details again. That's why the upsell is so great, because they don't have to fill out all that info again. They just click yes, right? So a great upsell, that you can make a lot of mistakes with upsells. Well, a great upsell offers to make the original promise quicker and easier, or even more possible. A bad upsell leaves people feeling like they didn't get everything they were originally promised. For example, imagine you just bought my course on how to use YouTube, and you buy the course, and then I give you an upsell that says, and if you buy this second course, how to optimize your YouTube channel, it's only $20. You're going to be like, wait a second. I just bought the ultimate YouTube course. Why do I also need this as well? Shouldn't this have come with my original thing? This guy's just trying to sell me more of what I should have already purchased. That's going to leave a really crappy taste in the mouth. Now, the other thing that we do, which can work but doesn't work as well, is when you just start offering other courses. So if I sell my YouTube course, I could offer my Facebook video course, and we do that, and it works. But part of the thing that's not going to work very well is they're like, wait a second, I'm committing the next 30 days to work on this. Now I got to commit another 30 days to work on that. I'm already overwhelmed. So the best possible upsells are upsells that make the original promise quicker and easier, or even more possible. So if I'm selling my YouTube course, I could give them templates, swipe files, script examples, graphic packs, animation videos, coaching, some kind of cool offer where I review their videos, some sort of offer where I edit their videos. Now think about that for a second. What if I said, hey, here's my YouTube course, right, for $200, how to market your videos, and then my upsell is that we will edit your next 10 videos for you. We will edit and animate your videos. Just record the raw videos and we'll do it, and it's $1,000. Someone's going to be like, oh, heck yeah, he's going to do my videos for me. Okay, it makes it quicker and easier, or even more possible. Coaching, a workshop, live training, feedback, Q&A, hot seats, something like that. Quicker and easier, even more possible. So if it's your first launch, I wouldn't really do this yet, unless you really want to, go the extra mile. But it's something to start thinking about. Okay, then lastly, we have other restrictions. Obviously, this is optional, but is there anything else that you require? So an example of this is our inner circle members must be at 6 figures to apply, and they must submit a $1,000 deposit in order for us to consider the application. Another great example of this is Ramit Sethi. All of his courses, he says that his students can't be in debt to buy the course. So if investing in the course puts them further into debt, he doesn't allow for it. Now, he doesn't really enforce it. Like, there's no way of truly knowing, but he can make that as a rule. He can sit there and say, now, the course is $1,000, but if you have to go in debt, if you're already in debt and you have to put this on a credit card, don't buy my course. And that really gets people to, respect him. It shows that he doesn't want to screw anybody over. He doesn't want to hurt people financially. And part of in line with his message of saying, it's not really good to be in debt. So if you have restrictions, that's great. You don't need to, especially for lower end courses and products. You don't need to. But as you get into higher quality stuff, if you want to make those restrictions, I think that would be really smart. So we're just going to recap. And by the end of this video, you should be clear on all of these things. What's the total value of your package, of your offer, of your product? Then what's the price? And the value should be a minimum of 10 times. Minimum. You can go more. Do you have payment plans? If so, what's your payment plan? Guarantee. What type of guarantee? You can have multiple guarantees. Do you have upsells, downsells, back-end offers, and other restrictions and requirements? This is your chance now to map these things out. We have one last super quick video where we're just going to tie it all together and get you prepared. But this is it, module number 6. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, I'll see you in that next video. Take care. All right, welcome back to module number 7, the launch equation. This is lesson 5, our final lesson of this module. Nice and easy, short and breezy. I'm just going to share really quickly some examples of each of the 4 launch strategies using the different sales mechanisms. So we'll just hop right into it, right? The 4 sales mechanisms, again, are webinars, video series, challenges, and email promotions. I shared with you what they are, kind of a basic timeline for them, and the pros and cons in the previous video. And if you still are like, boy, I really don't know which one to use, well, this video might help, because I'm just going to introduce you to ways in which we use each one to put it into specific context. So the first example is with a webinar launch. Ever since I launched my YouTube course, Video ROI, which was formerly Video Traffic Academy, the very first sale came from a webinar, and millions of dollars in sales later, it's a webinar. So, you know, one of the beautiful ways in which we've set up this course, which if you haven't discovered yet, you will, is that the bonuses are there to really give you the specific strategy. And so one of the things we have is called a launch map and execution guide. And so here is a launch map for a webinar. And this is everything you really need to do from the 50,000-foot view for your webinar. And we explain this all. But, you know, you want to send your emails and your traffic to a registration page, and then they opt in. They go to a thank you page, and then you have your live webinar with some reminder emails, and then that green box is what you do after the webinar. And on the webinar, you can see we transition to a pitch with a sales page and a checkout page. That's the entire webinar launch model. That's why people say it's really easy. You just have to perform live for an hour. And so the way we do this with YouTube is, well, you know, it all starts with the topic that you're presenting on. You have 60 minutes, and you have to create a topic that, and again, we're going to talk about this in the next module, so don't worry about it too much yet, that reflects or is on the same topic that your offer is, and is something people would get excited about listening to for an hour. And so this is the registration page, 7 steps to profiting from YouTube in 2016. Okay. So this is essentially the topic that I'm going to be talking about on the webinar, is 7 steps to profiting from YouTube in 2016. Assuming, you know, you're watching this in 2016, it might have changed in the future, depending on the date, right? So, you know, from there, we then do a webinar on the 7 steps, and then I offer my YouTube course at the end of that webinar at about 40, 50 minutes. So what would you need if you wanted to execute on this? Well, first of all of this is given to you as the bonus, and the rest of this course will show you how to do it. But you would want to come up with, what is the topic for my webinar? What am I going to include in the webinar? Well, that's what we talk about in module number 8. Then you're going to need things like the registration page and a thank you page, and you know, you can set that all up in lead pages. We do that very, very quickly. And then you're going to need emails to get people registered, right? And then you're going to need emails after they register so they can attend. And then you're going to need emails after the webinar to follow up with them so that you make sure they make the right decision for purchasing before the deadline. Then you would need some sort of sales page and checkout page. In fact, we've done so many webinars that don't even have a sales page. It just sends them right to a checkout page. Pretty cool. And then you would obviously need to know, like, what is the right sequence and formula for what do I say on the webinar? Well, we give you a webinar template script as well. So here's the deal, folks. I have to speak to you at the strategy level, because the number one thing people have been telling me is, James, I've got all these pieces. How do I put them together? And the way you put them together is by seeing the big picture. And you speak to the strategy. You stay out of the, but how do I do this? But how do I do that? Let me just give you all that. But let me make sure you know how it all connects together. This is how a webinar launch all connects together. Okay, so we need to be able to see that. And this is one example. This is how we've been able to do millions of dollars with a $97, I eventually raised the price to $177 course that I've had since 2011. Okay? All right, let's move on and look at another example. This is a video series. Now, obviously, you should be very familiar with this because this is Business by Design. Most of you are here because you saw the video series. So the way it works is as simple as this. People go from an opt-in page, they submit their email, and they're taken to video number 1. This could be a 10 to 20-minute video that basically starts to solve and address a problem. Now, again, we will talk about what actually goes into these videos in the next module. But then in a few days, they get an exciting announcement that says video number 2 is live. That's awesome. And then video number 3 in a few days after that. Now, the formula most people follow is a Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. So just every Tuesday and Thursday, starting on a Thursday. And then a few days after that, bada bing, bada boom, we open the cart. And you have a sales page with a checkout page and then obviously a deadline. Okay, so that's how the video series goes. Here is the opt-in page that we used for the most recent, the inaugural official launch of Business by Design, which was really coming from a point of just how I built my business. You know, we really just wanted to go after my existing list and talk to them and say, hey, I built a 7-figure business around my passion and expertise. Here's how I frickin' did it. Okay, so there you go. And a lovely screenshot with me with my eyes closed. Now, the next example I want to give with you is, a challenge. And I, like I said before, have never done a challenge before. I probably will very soon, one day in the future. But until then, I will share with you what my inner circle clients have done because they are freaking rock stars. This is the one and only Zach Spuckler. And this is an example of one of his challenges he ran. He actually has we'll have a link below, but he has a full breakdown of the results of this challenge for free on his blog. And basically, when Periscope was hot and happening, Zach ran a challenge that says generate your next 20 leads and your first or next sale on Periscope in just 5 days. Free 5-day challenge. Cool, right? Build your list and make a sale in 5 days. I like it. And he actually generated over $22,000 in sales in this challenge alone, which is pretty cool. Now, I'll introduce you to another challenge, which is another one of my Inner Circle members, the one and only, the beautiful Jasmine Starr, who runs an Instagram challenge. Now, her session's closed, so I didn't have all the details to grab from her, but basically, she does a challenge around, how to get started with Instagram and how to boost your engagement. Well, she happened to have over 11,000 people join her challenge. Pretty darn impressive, okay? And then she made an offer at the end of this for her Instagram program. Pretty darn cool, right? Now, the fourth one is an email promo, and we will have the swipe files and launch map for this as well, and it's pretty exciting. So this is for one of my offers for FB video ads, which is one of my courses on how to do Facebook video ads. And it all started with this one email entitled How I Automated My Business During My Wedding. Okay, and yes, boom, there's a picture of beautiful Chelsea and I on our wedding day. And the email starts out by talking about how I ran an automated promotion using Facebook ads during my wedding. And I sent out 2 emails like this with content. And if the people opened these emails, one of these emails, I then entered them into an email-only promotion. And for the next few days, I sent them more additional content, then opened up the cart for Facebook video ads, and then closed it down. We generated $38,000 plus in sales in like 6 days with 7 or 8 emails. Not too shabby. We intentionally did this to see no sales pages, no landing pages, no opt-ins. It was only email and a checkout page. How freaking beautiful is that? It's here to demonstrate and prove that we don't have to get in the way of what our customer wants with all this fancy stuff, okay? The message just has to get communicated as easily and effectively as possible. And you know that if you already have an email list, you already have people that are warm to you, they're engaged with you, and a series of emails. So we'll have all these emails, we'll break it all out for you. Don't you worry. That's all in the bonus section. But there you go. There's your examples. You have the webinar launch, a video series, a challenge, or an email promotion. Now you are open to do all of these, but remember from module 0, pick one bridge and go with it to completion. So when we talk about bridges, this is really what we're talking about, isn't it? Are you going to do a webinar launch? Great, do that and nothing but that. Okay? And then, stuff like, we're kind of also working on a podcast and redoing the website and, my business cards, all these other things which need to happen. It's very easy to say no to those right now. It's very easy to put those onto after we get to profitability, because these are the things right here. These are the bridges that will get you to Money Island. But just pick one of them and go into it 100%, because we are here in this course, this massive program, to make sure that you know exactly what to do to hit this to completion, to complete that bridge. Thank you so much for watching this module and this video. I'll see you in module number 8, where we're going to craft out the specifics of your messaging in your sales mechanism. It's going to blow your friggin' mind, so stay tuned. Hi, my name is James Wedmore, and for the past 8 years, I've built a multiple 7-figure-a-year online business simply teaching my passion and expertise. From passive income and online courses to membership sites and even high-level events and masterminds, I've been paid by thousands and thousands of customers all over the world by following a simple formula that allows me to package and sell my knowledge and expertise. But the best part? Not only has this business been one of the most rewarding and fulfilling experiences of my life, but I've done it all without sacrificing my lifestyle. Heck, it's given me my lifestyle. I live in one of the best beach towns in the world. My office is just a half a block from the ocean, and I surf every day, sometimes twice a day. But life wasn't always like this. I used to be the martyr to my business. If I wasn't working 12 to 14-hour days, stressed out and frustrated, I wasn't enough. I had no life, and ironically, I still wasn't making enough money. Now, I believe there is a breaking point for all of us where we say enough is enough, and we either throw in the towel or find a better way. The last thing I would ever want for you or any of my students and customers is to throw in that towel. There is a better way. And for the first time ever, I'm going to show you how. This is Business by Design. First and foremost, I want to welcome you to this content-packed video series showing you how to create a business by design. Over the next few days, I'm going to lay out the exact framework that I use to structure my business, so you can finally create a clear strategy, finally have the right plan, a plan that you not only trust, but you actually use in order to hit that 6 or multiple 6-figure level. This is the simplest way that I know how to create the type of business that I did, one where you are the content creator, the teacher, the influencer, and you can monetize the whole darn thing. Now, before we go any further, I want to address exactly who this training is for and who it's not for. I created these videos specifically for coaches, authors, speakers, online influencers, and course creators, those who are looking to monetize their content and reach more people. And chances are you've made an attempt at this in the past, but the results were a bit underwhelming. Perhaps you got excited about the prospects of creating a course or a membership site, but at the moment you feel a little disappointed.
you've done a whole lot of work and there's not much to show for it. So if you're looking for a simple plan to maximize your profitability, reach more people, and make a true and lasting impact with your audience, then you are in the right place. But let me tell you really quickly who this training is not for. It's not for the newbie. If you're just looking to start a business today, I'm not a right fit for you because my training might just be a little too advanced. You see, it takes a lot of energy to go from 0 to 5 miles per hour, from 0 to getting started. But I believe it can actually be easier and take less effort to go from 6 to 60 miles per hour, especially when you have the right strategy. And that's where I come in. If anything, these videos are designed to teach you how to graduate from newbie status, how to leave that uncertain, slightly confused, and always overwhelmed experience of starting a business so you can evolve into actually running or growing a business. One that you can finally go all in on. One that can finally help you reach that 6 or multiple 6-figure level. This is about creating something that you can be proud of, where you actually get excited, not nervous, when your friends, your family, or your brother-in-law inevitably asks the question, hey, so how's business? So, in this very first video, we're going to investigate why so many content creators get stuck. Why, despite all the content available to them, they still can't seem to make this all work, and how you can begin today to take real steps in the right direction. Then I'll introduce you to the simple framework that I use to structure my entire business so you can finally see how all the pieces of building an online business really fit together. And by the end of this training, you'll have the whole picture, a map that shows you where you are and where you need to go. And the best part, when you see the whole picture, you'll realize just how simple it is. You can finally ignore the 90% of distractions that tend to keep us busy and overwhelmed, but don't get any results. Plus, it'll be my pleasure to introduce you to some of my inspiring students and the extraordinary results that they've been able to achieve in little time by following this system. Students like Lisa Keeker, who started her online business from scratch when we first met and generated over $400,000 in her first 9 months. Or Rick Mulready, who went from $0 to $110,000 in his first year, and today he's on track to hitting the $1 million in annual revenue mark. And then there's Sherry Hemstreet, who scrapped her old and outdated business model for one that worked for her. 6 weeks later, she generated over $100,000 in revenue, and for the first time ever, she was able to create more money by working less. These are real people with no special talent, just a passion and a desire to create a real business on their terms. Okay, so let's address what you're probably thinking right now. James, how is any of this different from the training and the promises that I've already heard? Well, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I can tell you all about the success that I've had in the past 8 years, how I've sold over $6 million in courses, membership sites, mastermind groups, in markets that weren't even in the how to start an online business space. I can even tell you the extraordinary entrepreneurs that I've been fortunate enough to coach. People like Hillary Rushford, Kimra Luna, Rachel Luna, and Zach Spuckler. And this may help you trust that I know what I'm talking about here. But how do you really know if what I'm about to reveal in these videos will actually help you? Well, here's why. I believe everyone else is focusing on the wrong things. They only focus on actions. Take these steps, follow this training, here's what to do. But when you do that, you're missing half the equation. Here's the simple formula for success that I follow. Results are created from the actions we take. Actions come from the strategy we develop. And strategy originates from our mindset. Mindset, strategy, actions, results. You see, while everyone else focuses on the actions you need to take, I focus on mindset first. Then we get into actions. So why does any of this really matter? Well, if you can change your mindset first, if you can train your brain to look at opportunities, if you can start to see what others can't, well, then anything becomes possible. What you've got to realize about this whole mindset thing is you don't see it as a mindset. It's just the way it is. And once you've made up your mind about something, you'll hardly see evidence to the contrary. Your beliefs get supported wherever you go. And as Tony Robbins said, our beliefs are like unquestioned commands, telling us how things are, what's possible and impossible, and what we can and cannot do. As a result, changing our belief systems is central to making any real and lasting change in our lives. Okay, so mindset. Once you understand the right mindset, once you know the why behind the actions you need to take, you can create the right strategy that works for you. And from the right strategy, you can produce the right actions. And the right actions, well, they always lead to the right results. The only question becomes, what results do you want? So let's get into this. And we're going to start by defining what exactly is a business by design. Well, if you're like me, you started your business because you wanted one thing: freedom. Now for me, that was freedom from my old manager at the bar I worked at. It was freedom to do what I wanted with my day and get paid for it. So I thought running my business was the answer. Then, of course, irony sets in, right? Our business becomes the very thing that keeps us trapped. We continue to sacrifice and say no to more things that we value in our lives. First, it's the stuff that we probably should sacrifice, like TV or video games. But next, it's the weekend, time with our friends. And then finally, we begin to say no to our families. You ever hear the phrase, I work 16 hours a day so I can make money while I sleep? Really? Is that the dream? We do this until we run out of hours in the day? Then, of course, we come up for air. We see some motivational video on Facebook about how you're not working hard enough. You gotta hustle. All the while, you know what's really driving you isn't even passion anymore. It's fear. Fear that if you stop moving, even for just a second, it's all going to collapse. And you'll have to fold up shop and go back to getting a job. This is what I call the hustle denial. We convince ourselves that everything's okay as long as I just keep moving. Now, business by design is anything but that. It's about creating a business that puts you first. A business by design focuses on three things: your strengths, what you're good at, your passions, what you love doing, and it supports your lifestyle, what's truly important to you. Now, for most people, this seems like something to aspire to, the access to which is hard work and hustle. I'm saying, why not choose this now? Like, right now. Well, when you do choose this now, the first thing you discover is that work no longer feels like work. You're in a constant state of flow. You're happier, more productive. You're actually having fun. And I think the people around you, your prospects and your customers, well, they can see that. Now, the best way for me to really demonstrate this is to share with you how I was able to make the switch from busy in business to business by design. And unlike most, I won't be sharing some sob story of when I hit rock bottom and had just 36 cents in my bank account. Even though I've had those moments, heck, I think most entrepreneurs have, this is a story that took place years later. In fact, I wasn't at rock bottom at all. At the time, I thought I was at the top of the world. It was the fall of 2013, and I had just had the biggest month of revenue ever. Just over $31,000. Pride, gratitude, accomplishment. I felt it all. I had made it. Then I did something that pulled the rug right out from under me. I attended a high-level mastermind. You ever hear the phrase, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room? Well, let's just say I was in the right room. So look, I'm human. I did what we all do, and I compared myself to others. It was inspiring to see what else was possible, what they had done. But as I compared myself to these entrepreneurs who had accomplished so much more, I literally felt sick to my stomach. I worked just as hard as them, probably harder. So what was I missing? What was wrong with me? That day, a thought was planted in my brain, a thought that would grow to consume me, until one day I realized, I was playing small, way too small. Now, don't get me wrong, $30,000 is a lot of money. Heck, that's life-changing money. And it sure beats the early days of building my business in my parents' basement rent-free. But I was still that same guy. I thought small. I acted small. My results were small. Why? Because I was scared. I felt like I wasn't enough. I was the guy who didn't want to rock the boat, ruffle the feathers, or cause too much attention. Now again, I'm an introvert, a very shy guy by nature. Being in the spotlight, yeah, that's just not something I want to stomach. But I saw how much it was costing me. Trying to get everyone to like me, hoping I wouldn't upset anyone, afraid to even open up Facebook in fear I'd see a negative comment. I was literally walking on eggshells in my own business. Now, I grappled with this for some time. However, I was also willing to do something about it. So, I did. But not until I came to one simple realization that has literally transformed the way I do business today. It shapes my actions, my decisions, and it's why I was able to triple revenue in 1 year and hit the 7-figure mark in my business back in 2014. Remember when I said it all starts with mindset? Well, my fear was based around what others thought of me. And I realized that's selfish. My concern was for myself, my well-being, and how I looked. Now that fear dissolved the moment I made my commitment to my students, to getting my content, my knowledge, my videos, yes, even this one, out to as many students as possible. That commitment became bigger than my fear. You change your mindset first, and your actions will follow. 2 months later, I created and launched a brand new product from scratch, 48-hour film school, and I made $256,000 in just 2 weeks. I didn't work any harder or longer than I had in the past. Yet I was able to generate over $200,000 more than I had ever earned in a single month. And that was the turning point for me. Today, I'm fortunate enough to live and work in Laguna Beach, California. My wife was finally able to quit her unfulfilling job so she could come work alongside me. Today, our favorite thing to do is what we call workcations. We travel, explore, brainstorm, and map out our future together. These are the results that I always wanted. I'd worked so hard trying to get there, never realizing the breakthrough was right under my nose the whole time. So, when you adopt the right mindset, you can be empowered to create your own strategy, a plan, and a path that works for you. That's how you create a business by design. Now, after surveying hundreds and hundreds of my own students, customers, and subscribers, I noticed that most of them felt really lost. They weren't just missing a strategy, they had no plan. They knew what they wanted, to monetize their community with an online course or launch a membership site or build their content empire so they could reach thousands all over the world. But no matter what they tried, they felt stuck. In fact, the most common statement I heard over and over again was, James, I have all the pieces of the puzzle, video, social media, email, webinars, but I can't seem to put the pieces together. Does this sound like you? Every email or webinar touting the latest and greatest strategy literally rips you away from your focus and distracts you from what you really want. You see, focus is having faith in your plan, and a lack of focus is fear that your plan just won't work. I want to give you that plan, or better yet, I want to help you create your own plan. But if you're like most sitting there, the goals, the dreams, and the vision you've created for yourself and your business seem pretty far off. Am I right? When something is so big, it can feel distant and unachievable. Now this leaves us feeling lost, confused, and overwhelmed. Where the heck do I even begin? So we're going to break this up into phases. This way, each step becomes a bite-sized milestone that tells you that you're on the right track. Just keep going. These are the 7 phases of building your business by design. Phase number 1 is the research phase, or what I like to call the listening phase. This is where you gather the information and data necessary to identify who your audience is, what their problem is, and what do they really want. Asking questions, sending out surveys, reading comments and feedback,
the research phase is an absolutely essential step, and it's the only way that you can proceed to phase number 2, crafting your offer. This is the time to assess and interpret the data that you get from phase 1 and use it to craft your offer, what you're selling. Now, don't make the mistake that most make. They create the offer first, and they think that doing the research means finding an audience willing to pay for this. Now, that's backwards. Now, while we're here, let me introduce you to the 4 types of offers that I use and recommend when it comes to monetizing your content. There's digital training, like courses, ebooks, and boot camps. Membership sites, where members pay you for a monthly fee. Then there's group coaching, and of course, masterminding. Now, once you've clarified your offer, it's time for phase 3, the pre-release. In this phase, you can actually sell your offer before it's finished. So many course creators are delaying their own success by not offering their product until it's complete and perfect. Now, that can take months. For some, years. A pre-release allows you to offer an early access program with beta users who get to test out the product as it's being developed. This way, you have actual, committed students giving you feedback in real time. And this is exactly what Jasmine Starr did, who just weeks after she had the brilliant idea for a new course, generated a quick $5,626 to pre-sell her course before a single video was ever made. Armed with this, you're ready for phase number 4, the live launch. You're no stranger to a launch. This is the vehicle through which most content creators sell their programs and products because they work. And in video 3, I'm going to share with you the simple equation that I follow to generate multiple 6 figures with all my launches without big JVs or affiliates. So whether you decide to use webinars, video series like this one, or just plain old-fashioned email, you can execute a launch with purpose, intention, and confidence. Okay, after executing your live launch, you'll have one thing: results. And that takes us on to phase number 5, optimize and relaunch. Now, I see a lot of marketers who retire their products after just one launch. I'm definitely guilty of this myself, but we tend to think, well, I did it. Okay, what's next? What else can I do? We move on to the next project, and we start over from scratch. Well, why not build on the momentum that you've already created? You see, after every launch, our team does a complete debrief, what worked and what didn't, so we can create a plan for performing even better on the next one. In my experience, some people will need to see your launch and your offer 2 to 3 times before they even buy. So why not launch the same product 2 to 3 times a year? In fact, one of my students, Kavita J. Patel, was able to take her one-on-one relationship coaching work and turn it into an online course called Soul Level Love. And in just 6 months, she launched this same program 3 separate times. And she generated over $30,000 each and every launch. Phase number 6, elevate. Now in the elevate phase, you begin to look for ways to expand and scale, not just improve your launch. Now this could be done through JV launches, adding additional offerings such as a VIP level, or white labeling or licensing your content, adding a software component, live events, or even creating new verticals. And finally, phase number 7, automate. Now I know how eager my students are to put all their marketing on autopilot, but few are successful at actually doing this. My theory, a great evergreen or automated campaign must be tested, optimized, and perfected before ever turned over to automation. And the best way to do this? Well, follow phase 1 through 6. And what then? Well, you start over, right back at phase 1 with your next project or idea. Now keep in mind, this isn't a journey where you only reap rewards at the end. This is your opportunity to thrive in every phase, so you can have your business by design. In fact, for most projects, I can move through phases 1, 2, and 3 in a matter of just a few short weeks. This means I can get paid for my idea fast, and that revenue fuels the creation of that idea, so it becomes a reality, a product that can help even more people. So before we wrap up this video, I want to recap the phases and quickly introduce you to the framework for Business by Design, what I call the BBD pyramid. Now, the phases are research, offer, pre-release, launch live, optimize, elevate, and automate. Now that you have clarity on the 7 phases of your journey, this pyramid is the structure that will give you the focus, the strategy, and the action steps necessary to create your business. This becomes the filter for which you identify what to focus on and what to ignore. The BBD pyramid is made up of the following: the principles, strategy, tactics, technique, and results. This framework works, and it gives you the focus and the clarity you need to proceed with confidence. Here are some of my students who are doing this right now. Laura Husson, who went from burnt out with client work to mapping out her first product launch after going through the very first module of my program. In just a few short days, she generated over $21,252. Then, 1 month later, she did another launch, generating a total of $90,000. And Britt Seva, who made more money in just her pre-launch phase alone, $22,000, than she did selling her program the year before. Real people getting real results. So we've already covered a ton in this first video, but we're only just getting started. So what do you do with this information? How can we take this and put it into a real plan with clear action steps that we can move forward with immediately? Well, stay tuned, because in video number 2, I'll break down the BBD pyramid so we can put it all to use. I'll introduce you to the 10 principles of marketing that most people have completely ignored. Plus, I'll show you how I'm using them in my business to get results. Then, from these principles, we'll create a plan that works for you, a plan that allows you to create a business by design. So here's what to do right now. To help keep the conversation alive, so I can support you beyond these videos, I've put together a free private Facebook group, and I invite you to join it right now. Once you join, pop in there, introduce yourself, and share with the group which phase are you in right now, and what's one action item that you can take to get closer to the next phase. There is something extremely powerful that happens when you write down your goals and action items and share them with the world. So go do this right now. Plus, I've put together a powerful PDF workbook that will help guide you through this training so you can get the most out of it. That PDF is completely free, and it's waiting for you inside the Facebook group. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait for video number 2. And until then, I'll see you in the group. Take care. Hi, James Wedmore here, and welcome back to my 3-part video series showing you how to build your business by design. A simple training to give you a clear plan to create a thriving and profitable business around your content and your expertise. Now, in the first video, I showed you what is possible when you get to create a business by design. A business that serves your needs, your values, and your strengths. A business that says no to the hustle and yes to succeeding on your terms. So thank you for all the great feedback. But if you haven't seen that first video yet, make sure to go back and start there. Pause this video and watch that one right now. Everything I'm about to share with you builds on what we discussed in that first video. And I also invited you to join our private Facebook group so I can support you further on your journey. So have you done that yet? There's a link below this video to request access right now. Okay, so you ready? In this video, I'm simply going to answer how, as in, how do you do it? You see, the problem is most of us are drowning in overwhelm.
So many platforms, tools, and software that you're really expected to master. So many strategies that you're expected to use. It's any wonder we ever get anything done at all. Am I right? In fact, you may be watching this video right now and saying, James, this sounds awesome, but I just don't have the time. Well, you're not alone. So I want to take a moment right now and share something with you that a mentor once shared with me. And it's had a profound impact on my focus and my productivity. Because if you're sitting there having an experience of not enough time, well, that shouldn't be the excuse you don't invest in yourself and your business. It should be the biggest reason why you do something about it. Doesn't that make sense? So here we go. This is what I call the bridge analogy. Over on the left, we have you. Looking good, by the way. And you're hanging out on your island. Then, on this other island, we'll call it Results Island, we have everything you want. Money, that new car, the house, vacation, the lifestyle, you name it. All the things that you want and none of the things that you don't. Now, being the smart and savvy entrepreneur that you are, you set out and you build a bridge to get from where you are to where you want to be. You have an idea to create, let's say, an online course. So you start working on that. You create the content, the resources. You build out the members area. Then you get an email about podcasting and how you can make money with sponsorships. So you do that. You start recording content, editing, uploading, sharing and posting, promoting it. And then, of course, you hear how others are selling products on Amazon.com. And you think, hey, I can do that too. So you get to work. You do the research, pick a niche, find a few products, you get some samples sent to you, and then you decide, wait a second, I can create an app. Software's where it's at. Does this sound like you? Are you working on 3 to 4 to 6 projects at once? Can you see why this becomes a problem? Although you convince yourself that you're very productive, you never completed a single bridge. You never got from Reality Island to Results Island. So you're really no closer to where you wanted to go. And I think the mistake we often make is assuming that the safer route is to hedge our bets, to avoid putting all of our eggs into one basket. It sounds great, but this is the result that we're left with. When we don't have a plan that we trust, a plan that we don't believe in, we don't ever go all in. So here's a better way. Take one bridge. Finish it to completion. Give it your 100%. Get to Results Island. Then set up the systems, the software, and the people to maintain that bridge. So you can move on to bridge number 2, number 3, and number 4, one at a time, from start to finish. It makes sense, right? But it's not so easy when you don't really know what to do or what to focus on. So to follow Albert Einstein's advice, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Because of that, I decided to create a framework that allows you to focus on the essential how-tos of building your online business without getting distracted by the latest shiny object or tantalizing promise. This is the BBD pyramid. This is the result of not only 8 years of my own in the trenches experience, but also the work I've done with coaching clients and students in all sorts of different niches. Clients like Hillary Rushford, a fashion and style blogger who went from stressed and burnt out to making over $160,000 in the first month we worked together. Then she went on to 5x her business and hit the $1 million mark in just 9 months. Or there's Pam Sterling from Coaches on Fire, who was able to take the launch equation that I'll reveal in video number 3 to double her business. And Eric Solomon, a student of Business by Design, who started a new venture after going through my program and has booked nearly $100,000 in new business in less than 12 weeks. Each of these entrepreneurs are very different. Their strengths, personalities, their industries, they're all unique. I didn't give them the same cookie cutter model that they had to mold themselves into. I simply shared a framework that gave them the creativity and the freedom to utilize their strengths, their personality, and their passions. But it still gave the structure that produces that focus, that clarity, and the confidence to execute. So I went to work to create something that I could apply to all content creators and online influencers like yourself, no matter what niche you're in, what your strengths are, or what goals you have. So here is that framework. We'll start at the apex and the most important piece of the pyramid, results. You see, results is what you get when you take action. But when you clarify the results that you're creating first, it actually serves to affect the actions you take. So let me explain. If your goal is to lose 10 pounds in unwanted body fat, well, your actions and habits are going to be a lot different than the individual who wants to gain 10 pounds of muscle. You see, results determine which actions to take, and then actions will create your desired results. So we always begin and end with results. Now, in video number 3, we're going to create your results together in a powerful goal-setting exercise that will leave you with a confident plan on what to do. And then, when we open the doors to my signature program, Business by Design, the community and I are there to guide you along the way so you can take the right action and get the right results. Now, looking back at our pyramid, we must form the foundation for creating those results. And that is principles. A principle is simply defined as a fundamental truth. And in a moment, I'll reveal the 10 fundamental truths about online marketing and business, so you can finally have a clear understanding behind what really works, what doesn't, and why. So let's take a look at them right now. The 10 principles are direct response, attraction, context, leadership, storytelling, reciprocity, why now, social agreement, and problem solution. Now, some of these you may already know, and some of these you may think you know, but at the end of the day, if you're not using all of them, you'll need to pay really close attention here. We'll just touch upon these briefly so you're aware of them, but this is something we expand upon in great detail inside Business by Design. So we'll start with number 1, the direct response principle. The direct response principle is defined as this: every action you take must have a specific intended result that can be measured by you. Every promotion, interaction, web page, and communication with your audience must have a call to action that invites your users to take a specific action that you can track or measure. Most business owners run their marketing department like a billboard campaign on the side of a freeway. You spend your hard-earned money or your valuable time putting your logo or your product in front of your audience. You cross your fingers and you just hope it works. There's no call to action, no result, no metric. So how can you ever know what worked and what didn't? What do you have to measure? Nothing. Sure, Coca-Cola can put their logo on a billboard, but you're not Coca-Cola. When you run from a direct action, direct response mindset, you are in full control. You can measure, track, test, and enhance everything. When you don't do this, you're running blind and in the dark. Just remember, every piece of content, whether it's an email, a YouTube video, a podcast, or a blog post, and every one of your web properties, landing pages, videos, sales pages, etc., they all must have a specific call to action that tell your visitor exactly what to do, why to do it, and how to do it, so that you can move your prospects further down the process and you can precisely measure the effectiveness of your marketing efforts. Okay, moving on to marketing principle number 2, the attraction principle. The attraction principle is the approach of creating content and value that allows your ideal customer to come to you. Coming from a place of attraction marketing means you don't have to be that pushy, obnoxious, or salesy person just to be successful. Because when you shift from push to pull, you find that selling doesn't only become easier, it becomes more effective. All right, next we have the context principle. Now, the context principle is all about creating the right environment that is conducive to you thriving and getting the results that you're after, and knowing that you are always, always in control of your environment. Now, could you imagine trying to grow a tomato out in the middle of the desert? It wouldn't work too well, would it? Well, that's how most marketers are trying to run their business. Let me explain this. Let's say you're hosting something like a live webinar. Well, the webinar becomes your environment, your context. This is your chance to create an environment of trust,
when new attendees are thinking, who is this person? Can I trust them? Well, you can share a bit of who you are and why you're qualified to be teaching, or the results that you've gotten others. And this can immediately squash those concerns. When you know the outcome that you want, you get to create the context or the environment that is most conducive for getting the results that you want. And if this is still a little bit over your head, it's a little confusing, then I just want you to start and ask yourself one powerful question. What does my ideal customer have to know, experience, or hear in order to make becoming my customer an absolute no-brainer? Okay, principle number 4, the leadership principle. Now, I see a lot of entrepreneurs who struggle because they don't have enough reach, a big enough following, or enough influence. They keep following or trying to follow what all the other thought leaders are doing, but they never seem to have results of their own. Well, that's the problem. Attracting an audience requires being a leader, and being a leader requires the courage to get out of the stands and step into the spotlight and lead. Principle number 5, the storytelling principle. Now, we all know storytelling is powerful, right? It's as if the words "once upon a time" are a Pavlovian response to the brain, causing us to immediately perk up and pay full attention. So a great story can captivate and entertain your audience. But there are 3 unseen intentions and functions of using a story in your marketing that most people completely miss the mark on. So, a great story gives you clarity to your message, credibility to you and your product, and rapport between you and your prospect. Okay, principle number 6, the principle of reciprocity. I first discovered this after reading Dr. Robert Cialdini's infamous book, Influence. The principle of reciprocity has to do with the phenomenon of human nature that says we absolutely hate to be indebted to others. We are literally wired as human beings to return favors. So how does this play out in your marketing? Well, that's simple. Free content. Obviously, you know by now that marketing online includes creating high-value, free content on the internet. But so few people know why. Well, now you do. Your content positions you as the expert. It creates a relationship with your readers. But most importantly, thanks to the law of reciprocity, has others feeling compelled to return the favor. Okay, next we have the why principle. The why principle refers to the fact that no one will find value or relevance or even take action until they see why it is truly beneficial to them. And the benefit can always be traced back to a positive emotion your prospect is looking for or a negative emotion that they're trying to avoid. With every email, blog post, video, or product, you must first be able to address, why does this matter? Why is this relevant and important to your subscribers? Okay, next we have the why now principle. And what I've discovered over the years is that you can say and do everything else right, from attracting your ideal customer to explaining your product to them perfectly, and they'll actually say to themselves, yes, I want this, and they'll want it, yet they still won't buy. Why is that? Well, because they don't have a reason to buy right now. You see, without a reason to take action right now, most of us simply won't. The antidote to this predicament? Scarcity and urgency. How can you use a limited number or a fast approaching deadline to inspire your audience to take action now? Okay, principle number 9 is social agreement. If I introduce you to my imaginary friend, Tim, you're probably going to think I'm crazy. Am I right? But if 4 other people walk into the room right now and say, hi, James. Hi, Tim. Well, you might start to think that you're the crazy one. And then the President of the United States walks in and gives Tim a fist bump. Well, not only is Tim real, he seems like a pretty cool guy. That's what we call social agreement. It's the principle that states we tend to adopt the beliefs and opinions of the majority, or those similar to us, as what is fact or truth.
We as people have to make a ton of decisions on a daily basis, and decision making takes a lot of energy. So if we can avoid it altogether and just follow what the leader does, well, that makes life a heck of a lot easier. That's why we don't tend to like restaurants that are always empty. I mean, heck, that's what Yelp's for, right? Or why people wait in lines out in the freezing cold just so they can get into a nightclub that charges $15 for a beer. And it's also why word of mouth is still one of the most effective forms of marketing today. Or why you'll see testimonials and case studies all over anyone's website or sales page. Because at the end of the day, if enough people say you're awesome, who's to say you're not? And then finally, the PS principle. Problem, solution. As you may have heard in the past, you are in the problem removal business. It is your job to identify and communicate the problem, and then of course, solve it. So making a video on how to use Snapchat isn't really addressing a problem. However, letting people know it's the fastest growing mobile social app and ignoring it could cause you to become outdated and irrelevant to your customers is a problem. Then you can start showing people how to use it. A problem is simply the description of something unwanted. You have a pounding headache? Problem. You're 10 pounds overweight? Problem. When you start with the problem, you talk to the pain and frustration, the negative emotion that your ideal customer is truly going through, but probably trying to block, ignore, or avoid. And at our core, we are motivated by two things: seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. However, for most of us, our ego keeps us in survival mode, so we focus more of our efforts on simply just trying to avoid that pain. Therefore, when you address the problem head on, and when you point out how this will get worse if it goes unsolved, you snap people out of their I'm fine coma and directly into action. Okay, there you have it. These are the 10 marketing principles. You have direct response, attraction, context, leadership, storytelling, reciprocity, why now, social agreement, and problem solution. Now, that might seem like a lot, but trust me, these are simple concepts and they work. And if you stay with me, you can easily begin to master them so that implementing these principles into your marketing will really feel like second nature. And together, these 10 principles form the foundation for your business, and they also help you to create your strategy. Your strategy becomes your plan of attack. It's the big picture of how you will actually achieve your results. And every strategy, no matter what type of business you run, can be boiled down to TLC. You start by driving traffic, and then you turn your traffic into leads, and then leads into customers. And in video number 3, I'll share with you the simple 6-figure launch equation I use that follows my TLC method, so you can develop a strategy that works for you. And then from strategy comes tactics. Now the difference between strategy and tactics, well, strategy is what they say is done above the shoulders, while tactics done below the shoulders. Tactics becomes the specific steps needed to implement your plan. These are your actions. And then of course you have technique. This is what I like to call your swagger or your style. This is the way in which you take action. This is where things like branding, copywriting, and of course your uniqueness get to shine through. And this is ultimately what will separate you from anyone else. Because even though these results and these strategies can be replicated, you cannot. And finally, that leads us back to results. So that is it, the BBD pyramid. It's the framework that gives you the focus and understanding so you can develop the right plan that works for you. It works for your industry and your customers. And if you look at this pyramid, you'll notice that tactics or actions are in the middle. Because you see, without the right mindset and fundamental understanding of what works, and without the right plan, taking action, being busy, or simply hustling is useless. Heck, it's just exhausting. So how do you formulate the right plan?
and take the right steps to grow your business and take it to that next level? Well, stay tuned for video number 3, because coming up, I'm going to help you create some powerful goals in your life and show you how to reverse engineer those goals so you end up with a plan that you can follow and trust. And in the meantime, make sure to join us inside the Facebook group if you haven't already. I'll be there to answer your questions, share additional content, and support you through this entire series. Hop on over to Facebook now and share your goals with me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in video number 3. Take care. All right, welcome back. James Wedmore here, and I want to thank you for tuning in to our exciting and powerful 3-part video series on how to create your business by design. Now, this is it, our 3rd and final video in our installment. And I want to take a moment and truly thank you for the comments, the questions, the feedback, everything that I've been receiving over the past few days. So thank you. I'm so excited to share today's content with you. Not only am I going to take you through a powerful goal setting and goal accomplishing exercise, I'm about to introduce you to one of my favorite case studies, an entrepreneur who went from $0 to $400,000 in his first 2 years of business, and how he is now on track to hit the $1 million mark. And I'm going to show you exactly how he did it. Now, if you're just joining us, make sure to go back and watch video number 1 and number 2 first, because the training I'm about to share with you here is the final act, the piece that ties it all together and makes this all work. But none of it is going to make any sense if you don't start there first. Okay, let's do this. By now, I'm sure you're pretty eager to finalize your plan so that you can jump in and take action. And if you're like most of my students, well, you have a message, a desire to help others, or you have content that you're ready to monetize. And even when you have a plan, there's one thing that tends to stop us dead in our tracks and prevent us from ever accomplishing our goals. What is that? Self-doubt. Who am I to be the expert? Who am I to be teaching or sharing any of this? Well, I want to introduce you to someone who suffered from this so badly that after 14 months of leaving his corporate job, he still hadn't made a single dollar in his online business, despite working his tail off. And we'll reveal the shift that had to occur to catapult him from 0 to 7 figures in 3 years. His name is Rick Mulready. And in the winter of 2013, I reluctantly said yes to taking him on as a coaching client. Now, I wasn't doing any client work at the time, so I threw out an expensive rate of $10,000 for just 4 calls. He sent me a check the next day, and we got started. Now, as I mentioned, when Rick and I started working together, he was literally starting at 0, no sales. But after leaving his corporate career job some 14 months earlier, he had stayed busy, like really busy. He had a podcast, wrote some articles, and he worked on perfecting his blog and website. But still, nothing. He was floundering. And to make matters worse, he had less than 6 months of saved up cash left. 6 months before he would have to give up on his dream of running his own business and go back to work, looking for a job. Within a few minutes of our very first interaction, I asked Rick why he thought he hadn't made any money in the 14 months of hard work he'd produced. He had no clue. Now, I didn't want to rob him of an answer here, so we sat in silence.
until finally it came to him. He didn't have anything to sell. I know that answer sounds really simple, but the reason why he didn't have anything to sell was something that is all too real for the rest of us. Who the heck am I to be selling something? I'm no expert. Well, why are you waiting for permission? Look, no public figure or mayor of the internet is ever going to come down and charge you with the task of creating a signature program. Who are you not to be the expert? Being an authority doesn't mean knowing everything about everything. It doesn't mean having a fancy degree from some Ivy League school or even having a best-selling book. It's about having the ability to get someone else results. If you can help someone get started on Snapchat or help them find a boyfriend or lose 10 pounds, then you can help and you can get paid to do it. And no matter who you think you are or aren't right now, there are still others who are dying to be at your level, dying to know what you probably take for granted every day. You want to know what I was doing back before I became the YouTube and video marketing authority? I was doing house calls to senior citizens, getting paid $50 an hour to show them how to set up their Facebook profile. Sure, we spent the first 20 minutes finding their misplaced password, but after that, helping them upload family photos for the first time, or stay in touch with a family member on the other side of the country? Heck, I was their hero. Are you going to deny your customer that same experience simply because you're afraid you're not good enough? Or are you going to start focusing on the good you can do? When you can put yourself out there and say 3 magic words, I can help. So, needless to say, Rick did overcome his self-doubt. He crafted his offer and set a goal of $20,000. The result? Well, after just 1 month of working together, Rick created his first online course around the Facebook advertising strategies he had learned in his corporate job. Then he launched that product and generated his very first $31,000 in sales. Fueled by his most recent success, Rick made a big annual revenue goal of hitting $100,000 that same year. And he beat it by $10,000. Then, the very next year, he quadrupled his revenue to $400,000. And this year, he's on track to hit $1 million in revenue. And the best part, Rick just hosted his first live event. He had me speak at it as well. And when I asked him how it went, he told me it was the most rewarding experience in his business. He got to meet face to face with the clients who had taken his program. He heard the stories of people who had doubled their revenue or quit their job to pursue their passion, and how they had more customers because of him, because of the knowledge he shared with them. All of this because he took the leap. He had the courage to put himself out there, and he had a desire to help others. Now, Rick is a normal guy like you and I. He followed the same launch equation that I'll share with you in just a moment, and he created one product. And he just repeated what worked again and again. And what you'll notice is that when you follow the formula, your results aren't linear. They become exponential because everything you do builds momentum. Now, Rick has become a very close friend of mine over the years. Heck, he even attended my wedding. So as we both reflected on his journey so far, I was curious and I asked him, Rick, what is life like for you now? And his response, James, I don't worry about money anymore. Not because I'm super filthy rich with billions in the bank account or anything, but because I've developed the skill of creating money on demand. I used to think that having a job was security, that running a business, being an entrepreneur, is the very definition of risk. In reality, that's backwards. As an entrepreneur, I am in more control than ever now. I dictate what I'm doing every day and how I'm bringing in money. Now, to me, that's the dream. That's what I'm committed to creating for my students. I feel like most of us were sold on the idea that entrepreneurship is sitting with your laptop on the beach sipping on a Mai Tai. But I just don't buy it. If you've done the work to start a business, if you've made it this far, I just can't imagine that that's what really motivates you today. I have to believe that it's something deeper. Sure, we want freedom. We all do. But ultimately,
I believe we achieve the experience of feeling free when we are 100% in control of our ability to create and attract money in abundance into our lives. To me, that's what we're all after. I know I was, and it didn't have to be easy or overnight. I was willing to do whatever it took to master that. So the question is, are you? So let's take a closer look at how you can start to powerfully create a plan that works for you. Now, first, as you know, we must always start with results. What is the goal or accomplishment that you want to create for yourself? Do this now. Pause this video and write down the financial number that you would like to hit in the next 90 days or less. Now, did you do that? If not, do it right now. Okay, so here's a question for you. Was that hard? Did your brain immediately go, what's possible? What's realistic? How much time do I really have to do this? Did you write down a goal that's a little underwhelming? Well, that's okay, because now I want you to write down a second goal. What's the number that if you told others was your goal, they'd call you crazy? What's the financial number you really want, absent of any reason or opinion about what you think is realistic? The number that if you had a magic wand or a genie in a lamp, you could make this appear now. So pause this video and write that number down. Okay, did you do that? Excellent. You just created what I call your hairy, scary goal. And between your first goal and your second goal is your middle goal. It's funny how much we really limit ourselves in our goal setting, right? We don't want to reach too high and fail. And then, of course, we worry that if we don't reach high enough, well, we might be limiting ourselves in some way. Creating these three numbers gives you more of a range to play in, because it's not really about the number or the destination. It's about you and who you need to become first in order to get there. A goal just gives you direction, where to focus, how to align your actions. But until we actually map out your plan, well, it's still just a number on a piece of paper. So how do we do that? Well, for starters, I'll introduce you to the simple launch equation that I gave Rick and a lot of my other students. If you want to sell your content or your coaching, you'll need to have these 4 essential ingredients in this order. Free experience plus offer minus objections plus deadline equals your goal. Okay, let's break this down really quickly. Your goal is obviously what you just created. Your deadline is scarcity. It's the why now principle in action. And objections are all the reasons why people won't buy. Like, I can't afford it, I don't have the time, you get the idea. And you must address these. The offer is what you are selling. And remember, there are 4 types of offers: digital training, membership sites, group coaching, and masterminding. And the free experience is what I call your sales mechanism. Now, it can be a webinar, a video series, a challenge. Heck, I've done a $40,000 launch using nothing but a series of 5 emails and a checkout page. Those emails were my sales mechanism that provided a free and valuable experience to my subscribers. So for Rick, he chose a webinar, an experience that gives an hour of free content. So what's your sales mechanism? What platform can you create a free, content-packed, and valuable experience for your users? Now, at the end of Rick's webinar, he followed the equation and he made an invitation to enroll into his program. This is his offer. He addressed all the objections by asking and answering his attendees' questions. And then he threw in a deadline, a date in the future where the cart would close. And that is it. Now, I can only imagine in my sharing this, you have like 101 questions running through your head right now. What did he say on the webinar? What software did he use? How did he promote it? Well, right now, I want you to focus on your goal and how you can create a plan that works for you. A plan that you can actually follow from A to Z. And we can do this in just 6 easy steps. So, here goes. First, you want to start with your financial goal, the one that you wrote down. Now, Rick's was $20,000. Next, you identify your price point. How much is your offer? Rick was selling a program at $497. Next, identify how many units do you have to sell at that price point to hit your goal. For Rick, that's 40 units. Next, you identify how many attendees you'll need to have on your webinar or going through your free experience to make those sales. Now, the guideline that we use for this is just 10%. So in Rick's case, he'll need 400 attendees. He'll need 400 people on his webinar so he can make those 40 sales. Next, you want to identify how many registrants that you need to reach 400 attendees. Now, the guideline that we use for this is 30%. So roughly about 1,300 registrants are needed for Rick's webinar in order to get the 400 attendees. Then, finally, we must figure out how are we going to get those registrants. Rick knows he can get about half of those leads from his existing email list, and the other half can come from Facebook ads. So, his action items become, he sends out 3 emails inviting them to a webinar, and he spends $1,300 in Facebook ads. And then he can hit his target. Send 3 emails, spend $1,300. He either does it or he doesn't. Here, Rick is taking the right actions to get the results that he's after. And if you went through this little exercise with me, well, you can begin to identify the right results for yourself. In fact, you can even begin to ask the right questions to create your plan immediately. Questions like, what are 5 things that you could do to increase your conversions on a webinar? Maybe have a fast-acting bonus or cool testimonials and case studies. And what are 5 things that you could do to get more attendees? Maybe a few email reminders or the promise of a free giveaway once they attend. And of course, what are 5 things that you could do to get more people registered for the webinar? Maybe Facebook ads, social media promotions, or additional email invites. Is this starting to make sense? As we know, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I hope you are now starting to see the straight line between where you are and the goals that you've created for yourself, because this is only the beginning. In just a few short days, I'll be opening the doors to my signature program, Business by Design, a training system created specifically for content creators and online influencers looking for a focused and effective plan to scale, reach more people, and increase sales. It's a course that cuts through the crap and focuses on what really makes a difference, so you can spend your time and energy on what really, really matters. But most importantly, here's what it's not. It's not a program that just force feeds you my plan. It's an experience in mastering the fundamentals and principles of marketing and business, so you can develop a plan that is tailored to you, a plan for your business that is customized to your industry, your strengths, and your passions. Because in 8 years, I've pretty much done it all. I've created over a dozen courses, a thriving membership site, I've done coaching, and even high-end masterminds. I've done the low-end offers and the high-end offers, automated campaigns and live launches, tripwires and funnels. The options are endless. Unfortunately, this leaves most of us stuck in paralysis by analysis. There's no one universal perfect strategy or solution for everyone. It's all about starting with you first. Where do you thrive? What do you love doing? How do you really want to build your business? That's where Business by Design comes in. I help you to discover the right plan that works for you. Then, since I've done it all, I just give you that plan. So right now, I want to take a moment and thank you. Thank you for making it this far in this video series. And if you're excited about the possibility of continuing with me on the next leg of this journey, so we can take this all to a deeper level, then keep an eye out in your inbox. Because when we open the cart in just a few short days, I'll have an extra special surprise for you just on that first day. And in the meantime, please help me keep the conversation alive inside our private Facebook group. And share with me your biggest breakthrough or aha moment from this entire video series. How has this training shifted your perspective on business? Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Warning: the following business training series is not for everyone.
I have grown my email list by 2,500 subscribers, and I've generated over $87,000 in revenue since joining.
I was able to generate $12,000 in that very first beta launch with a list of about 75 people.
Why are some entrepreneurs able to rapidly grow without hustling 12 hours a day, while most work even longer, do the same things, and continue to see little to no results?
I created a brand new product, $197 product called the A to Z Podcast Launch Plan. I've generated over $300,000 in sales and over $173,000 in profit.
Why do some go on to create massive audiences that hang on their every word, while most can't even get people to pay attention?
I passed from not having a list to having a list of 8,000 people, from not having a Facebook group to having a group of 5,000 people, from 4,000 people on Instagram to now 14,000 people. I have 200 students, more than 90 incredible video testimonials, and I'm changing lives.
You're about to discover the real reason why.
As you're about to see, this series is going to turn everything you think you know about business growth completely on its head. So, if you already think you know it all and you're unopen to new ideas, this training is not for you. And if you're the type of entrepreneur that hops from training to training but doesn't ever take action, well, you're in the wrong place. So, if you're actually serious about growing your business, you have to make a choice right now. You can either keep doing what you've been doing, working way too hard with way too little to show for it, or you can watch this entire series right now and finally discover the invisible mechanisms that seven-figure entrepreneurs are tapping into. So, if you're the type of person that's willing to look at themselves and their businesses objectively, and if you're finally ready to step into the CEO role that your business needs, let's continue.
Hi, I'm James Wedmore, founder of the Rapid Growth System for Successful Digital CEOs, Business by Design, and host of the Mind Your Business podcast. And I'm known as the go-to guy who turns course creators like you into seven-figure digital CEOs by giving them the right systems and processes that lead to scalability in their businesses and freedom in their lives. So, if you have a message, expertise, or knowledge that you just know will help others, or perhaps you're a coach, author, or speaker that's ready to have a thriving online business around your sold-out courses and programs, well, you're about to get the tools and strategies that will do exactly that. By the time you finish this entire series, well, you'll have the completed blueprint for a business that creates massive impact in the marketplace and gives you the time to do more of what you love. And I don't need to tell you that there already are successful entrepreneurs that are absolutely crushing it with their sold-out courses and coaching programs. And they're doing this in every niche imaginable. Entrepreneurs like Jasmine Starr, award-winning photographer who packaged her expertise and turned it into a $238,000 launch with a $197 course.
and Jacqueline Kinser, a lactation consultant who launched her online course for the first time with no list and sold it out in 1 week, grossing $7,500. And Jason Brown, a stock market coach who built a $500,000 a year business while still working his full-time corporate job. And niches like pet photography, art lessons, fashion, health, fitness, parenting, spirituality, and more. Yet despite how much content already exists online claiming to teach you how you too can do this, and chances are you're no stranger to this content, the vast majority of entrepreneurs continue to struggle, get it wrong, and never figure it out. So if all the same content is available to everyone, then why does all this success seem to be reserved for the few? So, is it really the right funnel or the latest strategy that's going to automatically fix your business? As if all the gurus out there have locked the real secret away in a vault? I mean, you've clearly seen others use the exact same strategies. Strategies like a webinar or a challenge, and they've been wildly successful. So look, continuing to blame the strategy and then wasting your time hopping from one to the next, well, that's like blaming Google Maps when your car breaks down. And I don't need to tell you, there are multiple routes to the same destination. And if the map has worked for others, we both know it's not the map. So what is it? Well, the next logical conclusion would be to assume that you have a reach problem. If you're like most, you might be thinking, James, if I could just get in front of more people, then that would solve all my business problems. As if more followers automatically means more sales. Well, if I gave you a bucket, what good would it be to fill it with more water if you don't fix the giant hole in the bottom? Today, there are countless influencers and personal brands with millions of followers that chose to focus on vanity numbers instead of revenue. And as a result, they're flat broke. While digital CEOs everywhere are quietly crushing it with a fraction of that audience size. And you may be thinking, it's easy for these people, but you don't have the time or the money. Well, if you're constantly focusing on the wrong things, you'll never have the time or the money to focus on the right things, the things that actually grow your business. And no matter how little time or money you think you have right now, the fact is, there is someone out there with less time, less money, less resources, heck, even less support, and they made their dreams possible. Take Fernanda Lind Echeniche, a mom of 3 with a full-time corporate job and no prior business experience. She went from 0 to 6 figures in her first 12 months. The truth is, most struggling entrepreneurs are simply looking for the answers to their business woes in all the wrong places. And if you haven't hit the level of success you want in your business, well, you may be making some of the mistakes that they are. Heck, I know I was. This is exactly how I used to approach my business. And that's exactly why I struggled for 4 straight years, living off caffeine and Subway sandwiches in my parents' basement. Broke as a joke. I stayed stuck for 4 years because I was not willing to be the person who took the actions I needed to take in order to have the results that I wanted. Because when I finally made that shift, a shift that you too can make in an instant, everything changed. I grew $1 million a year online business, selling $97 courses, teaching my passion, online video. And despite how competitive and oversaturated everyone told me the marketplace already was, that I was virtually unknown, didn't have a best-selling book, 20 years experience, and one of those fancy schmancy certifications, I still made my business dreams a reality. And that gave me the life I'd always dreamed of. But that was 4 years ago. Today, I just do for others what I was able to do for myself. And by the end of this binge-worthy series, you're gonna learn just that. I'll introduce you to the exact systems and processes I followed to build 3 multi-million-dollar businesses and the 5 core ingredients that I bake into every business that allows it to scale without requiring you, the founder, to hustle day in and day out. You want to know why 7-figure digital CEOs become 7-figure digital CEOs? It's because they make the decisions, take the actions, and do the things that 7-figure entrepreneurs do, even way before they're making 7 figures. And the people that don't grow their business are still taking actions and making decisions that failing entrepreneurs make. It's as simple as that. I mean, how are you ever expected to become successful when you don't take the actions that successful people take? And I get it. You may be sitting there going,
James, I'm still trying to make my first sale online.
or I just hit 6 figures last year.
Well, do you think you'll hit your goals faster when you align with the actions of a 6-figure entrepreneur or a 7-figure entrepreneur?
Hey, what can I get for you? Let's get a tall Americano.
Sweet, coming right up.
Think about this. How much would your life change right now if every thought, action, and decision shifted to match those of the successful people you currently look up to?
It's gotta be $395.
There you go. Probably a ton, am I right? In other words, you can continue to struggle and hustle your way toward the attainment of your goals, or you can choose the easier way. You can focus on becoming the person for whom accomplishing your goals is inevitable. In fact, in the very next episode, you'll get to identify which of the 5 roles you've been filling in your business, which is absolutely vital because it's the role you fill that ultimately determines the results you receive. I mean, how are you ever expected to grow your business if you spend the majority of your day with your head down, hustling away at those $10 an hour tasks? Sorry, but creating graphics, designing PDFs, and learning WordPress is never going to grow your business. And if you're spending all day below deck, well then who's driving the ship? Who's focusing on the revenue generating activities? So if you haven't been happy with the results you've been getting, chances are you've been avoiding the role that your business needs you to fill. So the real question is, how much longer will you avoid it? And where do you think your business will be this time next year if you don't do something about it right now? If you're noticing that little voice in your head say things like,
I'm just not ready for this training yet.
well, let me ask you, is that how the successful entrepreneur thinks? Or are those the old, outdated beliefs that a struggling entrepreneur has? It's not a matter of how experienced or knowledgeable you are right now. It's simply a matter of how committed you're willing to be. Because you may not know this yet, but you might be missing just one thing. You might be just this close and not even realize it. You don't have to experience those years of struggle that so many others, like myself, live through just to be successful. Shifts can happen in an instant if you're open to it. So listen to every single episode extremely closely. All it takes is one idea to radically change everything. And although this series won't be up for long, I encourage you to binge watch the whole season in one sitting and then re-listen again for all the information you didn't catch. Because that extra effort to learn something new, well, that's what millionaires do. We live in the greatest time in the history of the world. We have more opportunity for freedom and impact than ever before. And entrepreneurship has never been more possible than it is today. There has literally never been an easier time to start than this second right now. And if you don't start now, when will you?
One Americano.
Hold on, I need my line again. Okay, give me an action.
Okay, and action. Wait, let's wait for this way.
Then that would solve all my business problems. Last line!
Okay, so you're going to look up from your phone, and that's it. Now show it to me. And then I'm going to cut there. Hold it down. Yeah, that's it. Let go. That's it. And now push it to me.
Shirley, do you think it matters that when I have the book in my hand, I'm on a different page each time?
No.
I think we should redo it, and I'm on the same. I'm just not ready for this training yet. Does that work? Okay.
Four.
I just hit.
Four.
I just hit 6 figures last.
Four.
I just hit 6 figures last year. I that up again. I said or. So let's continue. That's the one, Ryan. Future Ryan, I want you to know I love you. I love you.